GNCC, as we have well over 200 riders that have made their way onto the starting line here today in conjunction with our XC1, the XC2 Pro Lights class, and of course a couple of neat things to point out. Not only do we have the great championship battles in the XC1 class, we've got them in the XC2 Pro Lights class as well with Grant Baylor and the defending champion of Jason Thomas, but we also welcome to row number 2 a 44-year-old national champion from the senior 48 plus A class this year, Vet A class champion last year, and today he tries his hand from row number 2 in the XC2 Pro Lights. It's none other than Lorain, Ohio's Phil Smith. He's backed by AAOMC, he's backed by KTM, Clockwork Tanks, Maxxis Tires. Phil is hoping to shoot for a top 30 overall here today. He's not making any claims or staking many claims, but he is, of course, hoping for the best here in his home state at St. Clairsville, Ohio, as all attention now turns to Ricky Towery up there as he signals these riders just 1 more minute, 1 minute before the start of the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. Here's where the excitement begins to build, my friends, and the adrenaline begins to flow. The hearts begin to pound faster and faster as we approach now 30 seconds from the start of the 12th annual Powerline Park GNCC. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down. Shut them down. And I got to ask you, Ohio race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Come on, Ohio. You're the heart of it all and the heart of the GNCC racing nation. I got to ask you, are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at our ITP Powerline Park GNCC. $250 hole shot award up for grabs. And look at this, Paul Whibley and Charlie Mullins going at it. Whibley picks up the $250 after a couple of race absence. Of course, Wibbs was absent from New York, absent from Pennsylvania due to that surgery and that early season groin injury, but he's back. He's been training hard, and who knows what kind of a threat he could be. Andrew DeLong ready to roll with the rest of these XC2 Pro Lights. Jason Thomas, Jedediah Haynes, welcoming him back. Also, Grant Baylor, Scott Grills, Lane Michael, Mark Horesco, Chris Douglas, Sam Evans, Derek Allen, Mike McGinnis, Zach Love, Phil Smith, and more as we roll in a matter of only 10 seconds. XC2 Pro Lights, hole shot. .459, getting the hole shot there. 4:59. That's Shane Hufford out of Honeybrook, Pennsylvania, picking up the early lead in the XC2 Pro Lights. 258 class rolling next. Levi Keller, Ryan Pendable, Nolan Cyber, Austin Lee, Cody Harding, Gary Myers, Spencer Burke, Mike Witkowski, Tyler Braniff, Aaron White, also Caleb Ward, Anthony Stone, and more ready to roll in 10 seconds. Also Mason Atherton, Zach Hayes, Tyler Martin, Sean Benhart, and Alex B. Road. And they're off. The green flag waves, and this one is underway. The 538 getting a great jump off the line there. Burgettstown, Pennsylvania's Caleb Ward. Let's see what happens to the first couple of turns. It's going to be Ward leading them in through turn number 2 and all the way into turn number 3 as we go down to the 4-stroke A lights. Row number 4 now. Ryan Ballou, Craig DeLong, Andrew Powers, Luke Parsons, Alex Teagarden, Justin Bednar, Jake Froman, James Bauer, and one of our top amateurs of the 2013 season, Trevor Bollinger. They're all ready to roll as all attention once more turns to Ricky Towery, and he lets them know 10 seconds for the 4-stroke A lights. Kick starts down once more. 309, Alex Teagarden, a good jump. But also Ryan Ballou from Travelers Rest, South Carolina on an M-Pro Yamaha. Grabbing an early lead there and grabbing the hole shot. Looks like he's going to lead them through turn 2 and into turn 3 now. As we go to row 5, the Open A class, Tim Murphy, Nathan Thornhill, J.B. Love, Brady Myers, Colin Thomas, Dill Murphy, Ted Mullins, Brian Truxas, James Steiner Jr., Tyler Soriano, Zach Tussle, Justin Williamson, Michael Pillard, Brian Palumbo, Edward Barr, Dylan Green, Zach Dodson, Bob Dunlap, Jesse Kildlow, Tyler Toothman, also Tommy Henderson, Brandon Higgins, Andrew Boggs, Aaron Coxon, Travis McFadden, ready to roll in 10 seconds. And they're off. It's the 37. Tim Murphy getting a great jump off the line there. Kickstart went down. That bike jumped off the line flawlessly and into turn 2 now. He holds on to the lead, but he's got company. It looks like Brandon Higgins on that beta in the number 2 spot. The 200A class, 65 is Mac Jones. We got Nick Mellinger, Ryan Slopko, Christopher Vendetti, and also Tristan Landrum, the 200A class. Generally not one of the biggest classes, but some of the fastest riders coming off of this row as they make their transitions a lot of times from the smaller bikes into the bigger bikes. And right now, Ricky Tower readies these 200A riders and lets them know, let's roll in 10 seconds. Kick starts are down. Tristan Landrum, a good jump off the line there. The 704 grabbing traction there. Round of the first turn, and he's got company coming out of the 215 of Slopko now. So Tristan Landrum, Ryan Slopko, and now the rest of the field are going to slice it up for that spot. Now we head down to the senior A 40-plus class, row number 7, with riders like Larry Sylvia, Harry Engelhart, Troy Stanley, Frank Tussle, Mark LaBelle, Todd Gearing, Brian Belso, and Clark Munger. All ready to roll on Ricky Towery's cue of 10 seconds. Senior A off and rolling. Phil Smith, who won the championship in this class right here, is actually lined up and racing with the XC2 Pro Lights right now. So the class champion out of this one in the 568 of Brian Belsole out of Medina, Ohio, takes the early lead in this one. The Van A 30-plus class, the 53 of Joe Kessler. We got Big Jim Steiner there, the number 75. Shotgun Sean Remington back with us as well. Anthony Capuzzi, Nathan Alring, Kirk Allen, Curtis Ryan, and also welcoming back Josh Nickel in the Van A 30-plus class. Set and ready to roll in a matter of only 10 seconds. And they're off. Watch them roll, folks. 6:58, Curtis Ryan from Fairdale, Kentucky, taking that early lead through turn 2. Let's see if he hangs on to it. Looks like got Sean Remington pulling the trigger on that one, trying to take over the lead as we go to our Open B class. Row 9, Ryan Inman, Andrew McQuaid, Joe Sariski, Josh Atkins, Jared Anzalone. Also Jim Giuliano, Daniel Tarosky, John Wagner, Frank Gallo, Jordan Burkhart, Derek Paul. We're looking at Michael Joyner, Joshua Weiss, Joseph McCarty, Richard Carnes, and more in 10 seconds. Also Brandon Peterson, Joe McKee, Jeremy Randolph, Andrew Loudermilk, Cody Johnson, and Ryan Cotta. Kick starts down on this one. And it's Ryan Cotta, number 933, grabbing the early lead in this one, or was it? That says 929 maybe. But wow, what a battle going on there in the Open B class. As we go down to another B class, it's row number 10 this time of 14. Devin Ferguson out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Michael Bryan out of PA. We got Mark Adkins out of Ohio. Thomas Koenig also out of Ohio. West Virginia's Tom Derby and Ralph Thorne ready to roll in the Senior B 40-plus class. Ricky Towery readies them and lets them know. 10 seconds. .181. That's the number on the bike. I believe it was 4:58. Weirden, West Virginia's Tom Derby grabbing the early lead as we go to the 4-stroke B lights class. Matthew White, Luke Rush, Cody Pingley, Daniel Sladovnik. We got Cole Kirkhoff, Kyle Gray, Brian Maskus, Jacob Chrisman, Hunter Ayers, John Leffer, Cody Jeffers, Logan Poole, Brian Emery, and Matthew Keeper in.
10 seconds.
Wow, I thought it was going to be the 744 there for a moment on that KTM, but I'm thinking it's that 262 of Cole Kirkhoff from Vincennes, Indiana now. Kenda Tires, 100% goggles, Fly Racing, IMS back. 250B class coming up next. Josh Agee, Nathan Bauer, Devin Burks, Mason Pratt, Chuck Upperman, Aaron Bartholo, Ben Parsons, Luke Clinton, Matthew Donahue, Brian Lehrman, also Aaron Miller, Keith Skekenghost. We got Lucas Stein, Chris Bartow, Colin Keegan, and more in
10 seconds.
So Austin Williams, Dipper DeShong, Trevor Murphy, and Zachary Sanders. .272, Aaron Bartholo out of Diamond, Ohio, on one of the lone Suzukis out there in this class. Grabbing gears, took an early lead, but 575, I believe that was, that might have taken over the #1 spot. But it looks like they're going to continue to jockey for position as they make their way now out of the start zone and headed off to the course. The 200B class rolling next. Row 13 and 14. Zachary Farron, Zachary Hugel, Evan Earl, John Hugel, Clint Masters, William Ruckle, Sam Shaver, Jarrett Moan, Kyle Pettis, Sam, looks like Josh Cack, Russell Smith, Brandon Gearing, Braden Moore, Trent Smith, Dylan Dixon, and Nathan Miller in.
10 seconds.
And rolling next, that's 200B class in the final row of the day. Wow, the dust really starting to roll. Shows you what kind of dry conditions we have out here in these fields, and it's only going to magnify as the day progresses. But one thing's for certain, a welcome change from what we've seen for the most part in 2013 with all the mud. We'll take this dusty day. Freddie Bain, Larry Hopper, Chuck LeMaster, our GNCC pastor on the 316, Andrew Thorne, Isaac Guest, Shannon Hatfield, Chris McHenry, Matt Boston, William Dyke, Corey Atwood, Tom Truxell, Troy Andercott, Kenny Hawkins, and Dave Younglas in
10 seconds.
Green flag waves, the final start of the day, off and rolling. And the 148 might have been Hopper. Let's see, but it looks like that's going to change up quite a bit. We got a lot of position jockeying going on there. I don't know, that might have been East Liverpool's Chris McHenry, Vet B30 plus class, but again, lots of changes I'm sure we'll see taking place over the course of this one as we check the starting line. It looks like we are clear of bikes as the dust rolls out and we roll into our first lap in the final race of the ITB Powerline Park GNCC here on this Sunday. Of course, we are live across the World Wide Web at RacerTV.com, welcoming you one and all here to GNCC Live, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Any engine, any season, at home, at the track, or on the trail. Amsoil, the first in synthetics.
Sometimes you come across something so different, you just have to stop and check it out. The Rocky Mountain ATV MC website has everything you need, from our huge selection of apparel and gear to dirt bike accessories and OEM parts. Our extensive inventory means most orders arrive in 3 days or less. Get low prices, quick shipping, and incredible customer service. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
VP fuels are a big part of our race team. They're consistent, and I know every pedal will be the same. With VP, you get better detonation protection and bigger performance gains for your money. And VP has a great distribution. It's easy to find anywhere. Just like an exhaust system, race fuel is an engineered performance part, especially when it comes from VP Racing Fuels.
VP Racing Fuels, purpose-built to take the lead and keep you there.
Welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. What you're seeing here on the screen is actually Gus's Mud Hole, which is the 7-mile marker of what we have a 12-mile course. I'm joined here with XC1 Pro ATV racer Johnny Gallagher. Johnny, what did that Gus's Mud Hole look like yesterday when you guys went through there?
Oh, you know what? We've got our leader, Paul Whibley, coming in. And obviously he's held that hole shot he grabbed earlier.
Whibbs is back from an injury. He started off with his infamous hole shots. We have Charlie Mullins in the second place position. Charlie's looking back. He's like, I know my teammate Caleb Russell's got to be around here somewhere because those two are always stuck together like glue, and it looks like that. No, that's going to be third place Thad Duvall.
Yeah, that coming into that is really dusty. Was that Caleb there that just went by? So Caleb's in fourth, and oh no, there's Caleb.
We
fifth.
have Stu Baylor taking the opposite line. We have Caleb Russell here, so we got Caleb and Stu are roughly fourth and fifth right now.
And you see coming in how dusty it is. They're carrying so much speed down that straightaway. There's Thad. I honestly don't know who that was in third. Could it have been Chris Bach? We'll find out here when we pick them up at another point, but you notice they're not running the middle there. It's pretty deep. They run off-road trucks through there on every other weekend and special events. We got Ricky Russell, our Washington boy, coming through now. He took the line we were taking yesterday, kind of to the left, and then crossed back in. The ones that are staying to the left, that's a long way around, so...
Johnny, as a racer, I'm curious. The first lap around, obviously, Paul Whibley kind of set the precedent for these guys. Everybody's going around this. Do you think by a couple laps in, they're going to start going through it? But the first lap around, are they just kind of checking things out, testing the waters a little bit, literally?
Speaking of testing the waters, there's Andrew DeLong. He took the quickest way through, and Nick Davis right behind him in second for our XC2 guys. I don't think you'll see anybody go with the center all day long. It's pretty nasty.
Is it? Okay, so those two Husqvarna guys, they were just going for it.
Yeah, they stuck to the left side. We got another Sam Evans, I believe that is.
Scotty Girls right there behind him.
Yeah, so Ohio, there's an Ohio boy, so all the people out there cheering him on really well.
We have our defending XC2 champion, Jason Thomas, coming through. I'm not sure. I didn't get a chance to see what kind of bike Jason Thomas was on this weekend. I know that's always the hot topic of the weekend.
Well, we could tell from the sound there it was definitely a 125.
Oh, we have sound.
Yeah.
I don't have sound. All right. So he's on a 125, Jason Thomas. Okay, so the interesting thing right now, I think, here on lap one is the fact that Paul Whibley is out front. We haven't seen Paul in a couple races. He came off an injury over the break. He actually got surgery to repair his torn groin muscle, I guess you should say. And turns out that the injury was a lot worse than Paul thought it was. He took the time to recover. He spent a lot of time on the couch, which is not like we usually see from Wibbs. So I'm actually really glad to see that he took the time to recover. He's coming back. He says he's 100%, or at least as close as it said he could possibly be. He's got to be itching to get back out there.
Sure, he's proven that so far with the hole shot and the early lead. So he's definitely picking up where he left off with those hole shots, and I expect to see him out front. He could play spoiler with Charlie and Caleb for sure. He's got the speed. He rides well here. I don't see any reason why he couldn't run with those guys all day.
You know, so Paul's had a couple races off. These guys all had, we took a weekend off GNCC, but most of these guys in the top positions, you know who I didn't see come through was Josh Strang.
I didn't see Strang. I didn't see Bach. There was a number of guys missing there, and as the camera was panning, we saw some guys go by to the left. So, you know, we could assume that was probably that group.
Yeah, but what I was going to say, what led me to think about the Josh Strang is that a lot of these guys have been over in Italy doing the 6 days, the ISDE. We had guys like Charlie Mullins, Josh Strang, Thad Duvall, Caleb Russell, Jason Thomas, Grant Baylor,
Andrew DeLong, Jimmy Jarrett. There were several GNCC guys that went over between the trophy team, the club teams, and they all fared pretty well. I believe our trophy team ended up second.
Yeah, their best finish in, 31 years we had with our World Trophy team. Those guys did an amazing job, partly due to some of our GNCC guys like Charlie Mullins, Thad Duvall. Caleb Russell was on the junior team. Andrew DeLong was on the junior team. And in just a couple seconds, for those of you watching here at home, we're going to play a short clip courtesy of Digital Off-Road, Jason Hooper. This took place in Sardinia, Italy. We have Grant Baylor there on the junior team. Thad Duvall. It's crazy to see these guys in all different numbers and different get-ups here, but Taylor Robert was a really strong finisher. He's not a GNCC guy, but that one is. He is a part-time. Zach Osborne is a part-time GNCCer. He held up for the off-road world.
That's the classic ISDE helmet. I mean, I can remember as a young guy coming to the 100-milers before it was the GNCC series and seeing guys like Eddie Lojak with their ISDE helmet, and it's just a really classic look. It's cool to see those guys representing that.
You know what I like to see more than anything is these guys working on their own bikes. In the 6 days, you have to work on your own bike. You're forced to change your tires really quickly. You're forced to do all these things for yourself. So a lot of times when we're here at the GNCCs, we see factory teams, mechanics, the whole bit. But when these guys are over there, it's man and machine, and you have to do everything that you possibly can to get your bike prepped in just a short amount of time.
Yeah, it definitely brings a different dynamic to the event. I mean, these guys, from a young age, most of them obviously know how to work on their equipment, but they choose to spend their time training and preparing themselves mentally and physically. So, anybody that follows any of Caleb Russell's videos on the internet, and a lot of these guys had different stuff where they showed how they were actually training, having nothing to do with riding, just with changing tires, prepping bikes, and it all factors into their time. So it's definitely cool and interesting to see. There's Josh Strang, I believe the 24. He rode some different equipment there.
And now for all the motocross fans, the last special test of the whole week was the motocross section, and I know our Team USA did really well. Those guys were loving it. Those Europeans were really picking up some time on those tests throughout the week. So for these guys to get back in there and mix it up with a little more fast-paced motocross-style things, I think they're really excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a different format for those guys. With the special dress, the shorter races, it's so hard for our guys to adapt to. They're conditioned to run 3 hours. Their mindset, like we talked about earlier, is to push themselves later in the event. But the motocross is a different deal. It's a different mindset. And obviously Mike Brown, Zach Osborne, those guys really proved that the Americans got the moto figured out.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. But we're here at GNCC Racing this weekend, and it's a 3-hour race. So those guys might be kind of a little confused when they get back to action here. But we still have reports that Paul Whibley's still out front. But for now, I'm going to pass things over to Rodney Tomlin and let you boys take it away.
All righty, thanks a lot, Jen Kenyon. Doing a great job, man. I tell you, getting to watch that video from Digital Off-Road of the ISDE and know those guys were in that mode a couple of weeks ago, and now they're back into GNCC race mode. Like I said, back to a 3-hour format, back to the nitty-gritty, back to the real world for a lot of those guys. And this is what the real world consists of, Johnny Gallagher. And it's things like this at Gus's Mud Hole. And the amazing thing about this, I've been coming here for 12 years, and I think this mud hole has grown exponentially in size over the course of time.
They all have. With this being a riding park and the amount of traffic it sees, it's interesting to a line that was good last year or even last lap isn't good anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing how much it changes, and it's a great course and a great facility, and it's a good facility, I think, for Paul Whibley to make his return back. You know, I had an opportunity to talk with him earlier today. He talked about, you know, he did a lot of jet skiing and stuff like that. What we've heard of a lot of the GNCC motorcycle guys and even ATV guys, as you know, have been doing. That is something good for the core strength, and that is something that might be playing in Whibley's advantage today. Even he said, you know, he don't know how bike fit he is because he sat around for a couple months there on the couch. So whenever it comes to that third hour, as we always talk about, that big wall seems to be coming up, and he's not sure where he stands whenever it comes time for that.
Sure, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. And the thing with Whibley is he's so tough, and I find it hard to believe if he's there at the end, he's not going to find the gumption to push himself to stay with those guys. I mean, obviously, Caleb and Charlie have proven themselves this year to be able to turn it up at the end, and Whibley's tough. I think this is a type of track that he could really put in a good ride, get up in there, and like we talked about it earlier, just mix it up with these guys. And with the points being the way they are, realistically, you know, Charlie could use a friend like Paul Whibley.
Yeah, and he could use a friend like Josh Strang even, and maybe even the Swedish rider that came here and says, I'm coming, I'm going to beat Caleb Russell. You know, I know he's having a lot of fun with that, but there's been a lot of talk about that lately, and even Jason Hooper was over stirring it up in pre-race interviews over there about those guys. So if nothing else, I think it's going to be a friendly war waged, and we welcome the Swede for sure. He's a real nice guy, full of energy, full of life, just really what the GNCC needs, I think, at this time.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to hear those pre-race interviews because I was down at the mud hole for the morning race helping out some riders, but it's definitely good to bring in some fresh blood, and I'm sure with the Europeans being here, the Americans are going to puff Paul Whibley coming through Pro Pits.
That's right. Paul Whibley continues to lead this one as he's got hot on his rear wheel. That KTM once more in the number 2 spot, as we're not seeing a whole lot of changes going on right here, but it looks like both of these guys are starting to open up a little bit of breathing room over the rest of the field, and I think a lot of that could be contributed by the dust and the dusty conditions. You saw that yesterday in the ATV racing.
Yeah. Oh, and is this our Swede in third? It is.
It is. The 583 is in third. He came here. I don't think he cares if he beats anybody but Caleb Russell, to be honest with you.
He's getting the job done currently. Oh, and there's Caleb in fourth. You know, certainly not early enough to Caleb, or late enough for Caleb to start thinking about panicking, but
right.
I don't think he wants Charlie to get away this early, especially not on this track. I think he needs to grab a handful of throttle, get up there, get around our Swedish visitor. I'm sorry, what's his last name?
It's I believe it's Varnstrom.
Okay, I'm going to call him the Swede.
The Swede, there you go. I'll go with that. Robert.
We'll roll with that.
Yeah, Robert. We can go with that.
Yeah, Robert.
Robert, if you
I
want
got that. No, I can do Robert.
So, see the KTM pit's full of life over there cheering on their riders as we, I believe, was that Kokata going through there a moment ago, I believe?
Yeah, we had Takeshi, and then it looked like we had also Rory Mead right on his tail.
Wow, so good to see Takeshi up and rolling strong here today. Here comes some of our XC2.
There's Shane Hufford.
Wow, he got the whole shot in the XC2 Pro Lights class and picked himself up an extra $100 there, and looks like he is rolling strong here, man, in the early part of this one. 25 minutes in right now. Is that Strang coming through?
There's Strang there. Yeah, he's behind Ricky Russell, so rough first lap for him. He seems to be outside the top 10, so... Oh, and there's Andrew DeLong. So, actually, we either called that wrong or there was a change up because it looked like the FAR Husky guys were 1-2 in XC2, but it appears Hufford is still out front.
Wow, pretty amazing stuff going on here today. You know, kind of not really knowing what to expect coming into this one. A lot of these guys saying, you know, it's not their favorite. Whoa, look at that, man. That looked pretty fun. That was another visitor. I think it was 671, Anthony Gibbs out of Seattle, Washington, making his way in from the West Coast over there, getting a little bit of that Ohio grass track action going on there, I guess.
Yeah, judging by the looks of it, I mean, he appears to be Ricky Russell's little twin there. Up, and we got Scott Grills now, XC2 rider, coming through. Oh, it's slick for everybody through there.
It must have recently watered to try to keep that dust down through that area of the racetrack. The cool thing about it is it'll dry up pretty quick for him. The bad thing about it is when it does dry up, we go back to that dust there.
Yeah, I was really surprised yesterday, having been out there Friday checking out the track. I was surprised to see how dusty it got quick, and there's Jason Thomas ringing out that 125. But I really was impressed. Oh, and there's our points battle. Grant Baylor chasing down Thomas. Those are the two that are kind of trying to button things up here in that XC2 title chase. But with the dust picking up as early as it did, it really made for an interesting day. Friday, like I said, checking the track out, it seemed like there was good moisture in the ground, and we actually even got a little bit of rain after I checked the track out. I was not anticipating the dust that we had to deal with yesterday, and these guys will have the same today, no doubt.
For sure. There goes Douglas, the 26 Machine XC2 Pro Lights rider, checking in. And there is the Axeman. Man, I am thoroughly impressed with Paul. You can't ever count him out when it comes to hole shots, and he hasn't relinquished anything since twisting that throttle, I think, whenever the kickstart went down from the word go. And this is good to see. You know, like we said, Paul don't know how bike fit he is, don't know what's going to happen those last couple of hours, but check this out. It's already a battle, and I think that second-place ride, Mullins is wanting that position. He wants this comfort zone, this breakaway opportunity that he seems to be having the possibility of being afforded with Caleb Russell back a couple of spots in fourth right now.
Yeah, and, you know, I think Paul's making a statement here. Like you said, he doesn't know how bike fit he is. He doesn't know where his fitness stands, you know, how his race pace is going to be later in the race. Oh, and Caleb's made his way into third around our buddy Robert. But, you know, I think it's important for Whibley to make a statement early, and essentially these guys are going to be back to racing, obviously, in 2 weeks at the Crawfordsville Ironman GNCC, and then, you know, we've got a 2014 season fast approaching, and with Paul out there showing the speed he has, he's proving he's going to be a contender, and he's not going to go down without a fight.
There's somebody that's not going down without a fight either. It's Thad Duvall checking in with us. Duvall running in that number 5 spot, it appears. We got Whibley, we got Mullins, we got Russell now at the 3rd. Varnstrom, that's the Swede. Robert there on the American beta-backed ride, riding with Justin So, the 189 out of the XC2 Pro Lights class this week. Robert, like I said, just a great classic guy, and I'm glad to see him up there. There's another guy we're glad to see up close to the front of the pack again today, the 11. I've seen a lot of progression out of Takeshi Koikata, the JNCC champion, former JNCC champion there. He's made the last 2 seasons the U.S. his home, and was talking with him earlier today and asked him, and he was you know, pretty excited about what's happened over the last 2 seasons, and then, of course, he's real uncertain about what's going to happen in 2014, but he is hoping to put together another program that's going to keep him in the United States to be able to race GNCC. Whibley, then we've got Charlie Mullins, Caleb Russell, Robert Varnstrom, Thad Duvall rounds out the top 5. Chris Bach in 6th. Stu Baylor up there in the 7th spot. 8th spot, Jordy Ashburn. Roy Mead is 9th. Takeshi Koikata rounding out the top 10. Then we got Strang in 11th. Ricky Russell in 12th. And Shane Hufford, XC2 Pro Lights, is 13th overall right now after adjusted time, but he's leading that XC2 Pro Lights class after snagging the whole. Wait a minute. Maybe I missed that. That must have been DeLong we missed going through there. So Hufford is now 14th after a couple of adjustments there. So DeLong is up to 5th overall. So sorry about that. Misconstruing that, as looks like we might have had some issues with scoring. But now it scores. This is the way the overall scores. Whibley.
You're missing Mullins there.
Yeah,
he didn't scan in. So Mullins would be 2.
Russell would be
3. Robert 4. Duvall 5, DeLong 6, Bach 7,
there you go.
Baylor 8, so on and so forth.
That's the change right there. DeLong popped in there at the 6th place position is what the one of the big changes was. So we see Russell in, we see Strang in, we see Bonner in, all in. And like we said, Hufford has checked in also, although he's 2nd, not leading the XC2 Pro Lights class right now. 31 minutes into this race, lap time was 28:22, which isn't a far cry different than what we saw yesterday in the ATV racing, as they had a nearly identical track out there. And right now, riders checking in. We're still seeing those XC2 Pro Lights riders. We see Paul Whibley up front. Whibley is, you know, got a great team behind him right now. And, you know, that's what's really cool about the Blue Crew over there. They've got Jordan Ashburn, and they've got a women's team that they're building over there with Becca Sheets and, of course, a...
oh, we got a new leader, Rodney.
Uh-oh.
Charlie Mullins grabbed the lead, and now it's Paul Whibley giving pursuit. They're out on the backside of the power line, and they're coming into a really interesting section of the track here that kind of serpentines its way through the high-tension wire bases, if you will. And it's really interesting. This is one of the areas where I said earlier that Barry and Jeff and the entire GNCC track crew did a great job of adding some new stuff in. And, wow, you can tell Caleb's charging. He does not want to let Charlie get away.
This is not the time to do it. Look at that beautiful scenery in the background. You can tell it's a beautiful fall day here in October in Ohio. Leaves are beginning to change. Russell's beginning to open up a gap over Varnstrom now. So that's that still, I think, has got some validity there as far as a battle to open up as the course of this race rolls on. But as we watch these racers roll through this time, I was talking about the Blue Crew and the camaraderie and all the great things going on over there with the Ampro Yamaha team and Becca Sheets and, of course, one of the most recognized women on motorcycles, Jessica Patterson, who is certainly laid a claim to GNCC racing coming into this season fresh and new and never doing it before, not knowing what the cards held for her, was hoping for a championship contention. She won the first race, and she had her struggles in some of the other types of terrain other than Florida. But the one thing about it is JP Money has fallen in love with GNCC racing, and we've got JP right here with us today. Jessica, I know, is one of those riders that has been all over the world racing motorcycles. We've seen her grow up through the motocross ranks at Loretta Lynn's, and we've seen her win gold medals at the X Games. We've seen you women's national motocross championships. I mean, what else have you done? I mean, what haven't you done, I guess, is a bigger question on a motorcycle right now.
Well, this has been a part of racing I haven't done, really. I've done a little bit of things, like when I was younger, kind of like this. I did works racing. And I knew that I was going to take a step back from moto, so I decided to give this a try. And it's been a lot tougher than I really thought, but I've really enjoyed it because I'm definitely not good at it. So I see it as a really good challenge for me, and I'm just looking forward to making progress. Hopefully next year, being up on the box mark.
Well, right now Charlie Mullins continues to lead a teammate of yours, Paul Whibley, and to be able to come into this racing, as we're watching on RacerTV right now, only a couple of seconds separating the first and second place positions. They're opening up still quite a bit over Caleb Russell, but he's charging fast right now. But to you, to be able to come into GNCC racing right now with the championship defender, I guess you could say, is one of your mentors on the team. I mean, it had to be pretty exciting for you to step into the Ampro Yamaha tents this year.
Oh, definitely. I mean, these guys have been awesome. Especially with Paul, he kind of guides us all. So when we're riding at the farm, he teaches us a lot. We also train together, so it's really good. I'm glad to see Paul up there. He's had a last couple rough months, but he had the surgery. He looks like he's feeling a little bit better, and he's doing good.
There's your teammate, another teammate of yours, Jordan Ashburn, the number 9, making his way by. I think Ashburn is someplace back in like 9th place, if I'm not mistaken, there in the XC1 class right now. Duvall has fallen back a few spots. He's gone from about a top 5 now down, it looks, to at least a 10th place position aboard the 989. JP, I know that you've been riding a lot of these races, and you made mention, it's been a challenge for you, but it's something that you've embraced. And, a lot of times people like yourself that are used to winning something, and being able to go in. I mean, you went into X Games, you were a natural. You went into this, you went into that, you were a natural. And the thing about it is, coming into GNCC, you won your first race out. It looked like you were going to be a natural in that as well. But then the walls started building. And, a lot of times people in your position might all of a sudden get frustrated and say, that's just not for me. I'm not going to give it. But not you. It seems to make you a little more determined.
After the first race that it was going to be pretty easy, but it definitely has not been the case. It's been very tough, but yeah, that's the thing is I've had places where I wanted to give up, but that's definitely not how I am, and it's been hard since I haven't won more races, and me not being used to it, it's been pretty difficult, but that's the thing. I like the challenge, so I'm taking it, and I feel like I'm getting better at it, so.
What about today's race? Tell me about today's race.
Today was a lot better. I had a good start, and I just kind of worked my way. I even passed for the lead at one point, so I thought I was in good hands and just made a little mistake. And then another time had a vine rip me off the bike. But other than that, I had a solid day for once, and just making progress and hopefully racing more off-road stuff during the off-season.
And this morning with the battle, I know that you had who ended up winning that women's class race? You, Maria, right?
No, I think Casey.
Oh, did Casey end up winning that one? I know there was kind of a back and forth battle. You guys,
no, Maria did win it. Yeah.
And, wow, a good race today. Like I said, it was back and forth, and all of you girls were into it. It was a lot of excitement. And, of course, Jen Kenyon had the opportunity to catch up with our women's overall winner earlier this morning.
Maria Forsberg, congratulations on yet another win in the women's class and another overall here at Powerline Park. How was the race for you?
It was really good. Me and Casey, we literally battled the whole race until like halfway through the last lap. I'd crash, she'd crash, I'd take a good line, she'd take a good line, and it was really fun. She's really stepped it up, and so it was really fun to race with her and actually go back and forth instead of one of us, you know, leading or whatnot.
Now, we come here a lot of times, and it's somewhat muddy back there. You guys had a really dry track. How was that?
It was good. I mean, like I've told everyone, I would rather have mud. The rainier, the nastier, the better, but it was still pretty good, though.
All right, now we believe that you've wrapped up the women's class championship, so we want to give you a big congratulations to that. I know your whole factory KTM team's going to be there at the final round, so we'll do the big production and the big #1 presentation, but I do want to give you a big congrats from the Racer Productions crew on a big feat this year.
Thank you very much.
And good job out there today.
Thanks.
Well, JP, you know as well as anybody, those are the best women in the off-road racing world, and it's good to see you in the company with those, and exciting. And I'm looking forward to what 2014 holds. I know this is a learning year for you. Every race that you went to this year has been a brand new venue. Next year you're going to have a little bit more of an advantage, as much advantage as they've got anyway.
Yeah, definitely. That's been the thing, is just get a little bit experience at each one, and you know, it's going to take a little bit more. I'm going to race as much as I can in the off season to learn more, but I've enjoyed a lot of these tracks. We've had a lot of bad weather too, so that's been really crappy. But I've enjoyed it, and I've learned a lot, and I plan on learning more. But yeah, these girls are really good, and I want to keep a little bit closer with them so I can learn more from them also.
That is great. And again, thanks for being a part of our GNCC Racing Nation. We welcome you with open arms, and we wish the best for you, Jet.
Thank you.
Jessica Patterson, Am-Pro Yamaha rider, one of the world's, if not the world's, most recognized off-road motorcycle racing pilots, of course, through motocross and now the GNCC off-road racing world. And joined back again by one of the ATV racing world's greatest, and that, of course, Johnny Gallagher, checking in with us with the absence of Stu Baylor, who's out on the racetrack right now with these guys as we are checking in. We are checking in now in the pro pit area with some. We are checking in at the finish line. Just to give you an idea, we have about 4 different areas of the racetrack that we're able to cover. We're at the Powerline, which is the 3-mile marker. Gus's Mud Hole, which is the 7-mile marker. We'll be at the pits at the 10-mile marker, and the finish line is the 12-mile marker. And right now we are moments away, well, about 16 minutes away from a second lap complete. We are 40 minutes and 25 seconds into this race. And I tell you, Johnny Gallagher, it is kind of what we expected, I think, rolling into this. We expected to see Russell be a factor. We expected to see Mullins to be a factor. We weren't real sure what was going to be going on with Paul Whibley, but we weren't going to be surprised if he was much of a factor in this race. One thing that I can say I'm a little surprised about, we saw Duvall checking in the top 5 position on that first lap, but on the second lap, I've seen him check in, and I think he's fallen back somewhere in the 9th, 10th place position, so he's got some struggles going on out there. That's one of the big surprises I think we're looking at right now.
Yeah, we saw some field shots earlier and definitely saw things mix up. You know, one thing that I honestly didn't catch, Rodney, was Shane Hufford there, currently running 3rd overall from XC2.
I believe that would be 4th overall.
I'm sorry, 4th, correct. Yeah, Mullins isn't calculated in there, but I guess I just assumed DeLong was leading again. So Hufford really grabbed that whole shot, and he's making the most of it right now. But when they were on that field, I don't know if you caught it or not, but Robert, as we're calling him, had also fallen way back. He appeared to be probably outside the top 10 or nearing falling out of the top 10. So him and Thad both had some issues, or perhaps there was a tricky little section in there, and things are starting to mix up. So it'll be interesting to see when they emerge here again. I think we should see him at Gus's Mud Hole pretty soon, and it'll be cool to see if Mullins is out front and what kind of damage Caleb's been able to do as far as trying to run Paul down. With everything that's on the line for Caleb, he definitely needs to get up there and not let Charlie get away. Caleb generally is the aggressor early, so I'm actually surprised to see Charlie doing what he's doing, but Correct me if I'm wrong, but Caleb's on a 5-win streak or 4?
I think it's 5-win streak right now, and I mean, and the way things are looking after that last race there in Pennsylvania at Foxburg, he looked virtually unstoppable. But and you know, just because he struggled a little bit here in the early part, we can't count him out, because traditionally all season that's the way we've seen it. You know, he and Charlie both, they've had those issues sometimes early in the race, and then
here we go.
All of a sudden they end up back out front. Do we have a new leader? Yeah, we got ourselves a new leader. Charlie Mullins has pulled into the #1 spot as he's gotten around now, I believe, Paul Whibley, which has dropped back several seconds now, it looks like, as we have not seen him approach Gus's mud hole at this juncture.
Paul coming now. I can tell by the posture. Yep. We, you know, you mentioned that obviously Caleb has been the one to been able to make up time, and certainly I don't think today could potentially be any different, but I give Charlie props for coming out with a different game plan and not taking it easy at the beginning and really putting it to these guys, because in order for him to make the points he needs to win this title, he can't have Caleb finish second both races. It's going to take a points gap, and in order to do that, he needs either somebody between him or, you know, to really shake Caleb off his game, and he's trying to do that here early. So Caleb certainly has the bike skills, has the preparation, the fitness, the speed, everything he needs, the talent, obviously. I mean, he's in my mind, Caleb and Thad are the two guys that really embody the talent of young GNCC racing coming up these last few years. And, you know, Charlie's not much older, but I consider him the old guard these days. Oh, and Jordan Ashburn into 4th.
Wow, that's a big step up for him. I know that he's had good consistent season this year. He's setting better in points than he was last year, but he hasn't been on the podium nearly as much. And look at this, he's got some company coming in pretty tight. I think that we probably got Robert Varnstrom back there, and if I'm not mistaken, it's probably Chris Bach that's also caught up to him at this point now. Charlie Mullins out front right now, new leader, and he's doing exactly what he needs to do. Charlie is going into checkout mode. We call him Checkout Charlie, and I know that Jen had a chance to catch up with Charlie coming into today's race, and though Charlie hasn't necessarily ever won here, he's still pretty optimistic about what today brings.
Charlie, there's a 7-point gap between you and your teammate Caleb heading into these last 2 final rounds. You guys are both gunning for that national championship. What's going to be the key thing for you to secure that second title?
If I want to win, I got to win races, basically win the next 2. So a lot of pressure, but I'm up for the challenge. Here in Ohio, I think it should be good. I feel good, so just get that win is all I can do. Ride my best.
So consistency is key for you.
Yeah.
All right, you heard it right there. Consistency is what's going to win that championship this year.
And consistency is something that both Charlie and Caleb have been able to portray here, and she's right. Consistency, and Charlie's right. We'll win the championship, but consistently, who wins these last 2 races, I think, is the way it's going to boil down if you want to know the truth.
Yeah, consistency, I think, at this point is out the window, Rodney. And with everything we've seen this year out of Caleb and Charlie, they've proven to be, 1-2 the majority of the races, pushing each other. And with these 2 guys, it's really come down to a 2-rider duel for this championship. And I think ultimately we're going to see it come down to a 2-rider duel at Ironman. But today sets the stage for that. They both need to get through today upright, healthy, and score maximum points to be able to keep themselves in this hunt for both of them. So early in the race like this, like I said, with Charlie really bringing the heat, and there's Nick Davis, and again they're running that edge line on the Gus's mud hole. Oh, Scott Grills, look at that, first guy we've seen really go through the center, and you can see how deep that mud hole is. The folks at home probably are wondering why these guys are taking the time to go around. If you watch Scott Grills' bike disappear, that explains it. There's a giant hole there. I mean, I've literally seen jacked up mud trucks with 44-inch tires all the way under in that hole. So you definitely don't want to hit the center of it.
Well, we're talking a lot about Charlie and what he's got to do as far as consistency in the championship battle right now. And the same thing goes for Caleb Russell right now. He needs to be consistent and win races right now, beat Charlie if nothing else. And, coming into these final 2 rounds, you got to wonder, too, what's on Caleb Russell's mind. And, again, Jen Kenyon had a chance to pick his brain before the race today, too.
Caleb, you just returned back from Italy from the 6 days. We're heading into round 12 of the GNCCs. You've got a lot going on here in the points chase. Do you think that the extra seat time there in Italy had anything to do with preparing you for this race?
Yeah, I think it was really good for me. I haven't been riding as much at the house, just kind of training and stuff, and you know, I've been lacking the seat time that I need to have coming into these races. So I think it was really good on the bike seat time, because you're on the bike for six and a half hours a day pretty much. So yeah, in that aspect it was great, and I'm looking forward to Sunday.
Now tell us a little bit briefly about the 6 days experience. That was your first time in that kind of format over there. What'd you think?
It was tough. Those guys are really fast, and they're really good at short sprints, and it's really tough we don't really have that mindset in GNCC racing. It's you know, we ride hard the whole time, but not necessarily as hard as you can from corner to corner, and that's kind of the hard transition. Just keeping your focus each corner of the way, and pushing and braking as hard as you can. Where in GNCC racing you kind of get the tendency to get a little bit lazy and kind of back it down and just kind of not really cruise, but not pushing as hard as you can the whole time.
All right, well, we're back to GNCC this weekend. We've got a 3-hour battle between you and your teammate Charlie for the points lead. It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, it should be good. You know, I'm looking to go for the 3-peat this weekend. I've won the last 2 years, so, and it was my first ever win, so it's good. It's really good, and I can tie Juha's streak with 6 wins in a row, so I'm looking forward to that as well.
Oh, wow, it's something I did not know. Good luck out there, and hopefully we can see some history there.
Yes, for sure.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. You know, and Kate, did you see the little smirk and hear it in his voice? And he said, maybe I can tie Juha's record. And that's pretty cool stuff. I mean, whenever you think about it, that on the bike side of things, a rider hasn't really ever had really more than a 6-win race streak. I mean, that's saying a lot about the competition in GNCC.
Certainly, I mean, these are the best riders in the world, and anytime somebody gets a win streak going, I think the other riders really get extra motivated and put in a little bit of extra time during the week, and that's that little bit of extra fuel that they need to really push themselves to make sure that guy doesn't get too comfortable in his perch there.
All right, let me ask you this question, a little bit of trivia for you. Who is the only rider to actually ever beat Juha Salman and straight up?
Rodney, I don't really think you want to play GNCC trivia with many people like me. That would be Barry Hawk.
Yes.
Yes. Rodney, I think you and I would probably manage to not stump each other all day long, but blow people's minds. But yeah, I think we're both definitely students of the game, and you know, Barry had the unfortunate luck, I guess, if you will, or unfortunate era of living in the Juha Salman, David Knight era, and
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal to think of how many more races. Obviously, Barry, with being our, as we talked about yesterday, our all-time win leader for GNCC racing. How many more could he have had if it wasn't for Juha Salman and David Knight?
Oh.
And how many more championships? I mean,
Yeah.
with Barry's 8 championships, I believe,
Yeah.
that he does have, and 68 wins that he does have. I mean, you could easily tack another 20, 30 wins and 3 or 4 championships on there.
Very good point. Very good point, Johnny Gallagher. So we head down. We got an update coming in from the Mud Hole, I believe. What's going on out there, guys? Got an update coming in from the Mud Hole. What's going on out there, guys?
It looked like Mullins came in and there was no one in his rear view mirror, Rodney, so they'll be heading to the pits here shortly.
10-4. Thanks a lot for that update. Man, Charlie Mullins, it's checkout Charlie time right there going on, as a matter of fact. And it is really, it's starting to shape up to be a good Ohio Rider day. And to see right now the number 557 of Russell, the white background plate, pushing like he is right now. It's something, again, we talk about no sense of emergency just yet, but look at what's going on. Charlie's starting to stretch it out, and if he gets it too much, even though Caleb may be a little faster each lap in the latter part of the race, will Charlie stretch it out enough to give him that buffer zone? And there's still some riders to contend with for Caleb before he even reaches Charlie right now.
Yeah, definitely. Paul may not be in this fight, but I don't think he's going to pull over and let Caleb by anytime soon. I think he's out there racing for pride, and also, like we said earlier, making that statement that he's got the speed, he's got the skills, he's going to be back hunting a championship next year for himself. So Caleb's got to get around him. I mean, you could see there, look at that dust, Rodney, the way it's just rolling out of there, and that's not even a large number of bikes going through there. I mean, that was a couple guys that just kind of came through, and I think those were some XC2 and maybe some Open A guys.
Yeah.
So, when you could imagine trying to be on the rear wheel of the 350 cc's of Caleb Russell, or 450s of Whibley and Mullins, there's going to be a lot of dust flying, and it looks like we're going to be approaching the pro pits here, and we expect to still see Mullins out front, but it'll be interesting to see where Whibley and Russell check in as far as time-wise behind Mullins and where they are in relationship to each other as well. Not to keep restating the same, but Caleb needs to get rolling here because I think he and Charlie have shown to have the similar speed and endurance throughout the course of the race, and every second that Charlie puts on Caleb now it's going to be twice as hard to get back later in the race. So I wouldn't get concerned if I was Caleb Russell fans by any means, but he doesn't want to let this continue too much longer. Charlie's just building confidence, building speed, getting himself clear trail, and Caleb's probably just gathering himself. Obviously, it's been a different training program for these guys, like you said, being at ISDE, and they were off their regular program. So, and one guy that's obviously been off his regular program is Paul Whibley, but man, is it working for him so far.
Wow. I'm guesstimating at least 30 seconds gap right now, maybe 35 between first and second place position. Yeah, about right at the 30-second mark is what we're looking at between first and second place. The report from the mud hole, nobody in the rearview mirror, literally. Nobody in Paul's rearview mirror just yet, but here comes Caleb Russell right now, and we'll get a check on him to see how far behind he happens to be.
I believe his mechanic Tanner just told us there, 56 seconds.
Behind the leader.
Yep.
Wow.
So he's nearing a minute behind, and certainly Caleb has the speed to make that up, but I don't think Charlie's going to make it easy on him. And like we mentioned, Paul's still playing a serious factor there in second, and racing for himself. And I mean, we've focused all day on the championship battle between these two guys, and Jordan Ashburn really hanging tough there.
Wow.
In fourth, it appears he may have even made up a little ground since we saw him last.
I think so, and something seems to be different for Jordan Ashburn today, man. I don't know, something's lit the fire under his tail, and he's really stepped up the game. Not that he's had a bad season, like we said, but he's not had that flash of a season that we've seen in the past. There's Varnstrom still in the number.
No, that was Rory Mead there in, in fifth, and then we have Chris Bach in sixth. And
wow.
So you've got 4, 5, and 6 all within just a few seconds. They can all see each other. And I expect to see a charging train there with Ashburn, Bach, and Mead, or Ashburn, Mead, Bach, actually. Those guys, it's late in the season for all those guys. Obviously, Ashburn and Bach have a lot on the line. Oh, we've got Robert grabbing a drink. He's trying to clean a little bit of that Ohio mud and dust out of his lungs, and appears that maybe the different format here of GNCC racing isn't quite what he expected thus far, but still hanging tough. It appears maybe in 7th after a great start, and he's now battling with, we got Takeshi, Kwakita, and then also Josh Strang, which would make them 8 and 9, I do believe. And then we've got Andrew DeLong, physically 10, which would make him the leader in our XC2 class, and Andrew DeLong's a PA boy, but real close. And then Shane Hufford in second in XC2, really still doing well there. And Ricky Russell rounding out the top 10 in XC1. Washington native. That's we talked about how many people really do travel to come race the GNCC series from abroad, from different corners of our United States here, and Ricky Russell's coming from about as far as you can come from to here, at least within the United States.
Right.
So to be upstate Washington and come here and pick up and pack up his van with his girlfriend Jenna, great people. I got to spend some time with them earlier this year, and he's really trying to make a name for himself, hardworking kid, and good to see him doing well here today. It looks like running just inside the top 10.
Well, about a minute before the leaders due in, a little less than a minute, actually. There comes the leader now, the 112, Hot Rod Charlie Mullins. It's checkout Charlie mode, and he is in the orange zone, and that is a fast zone that Caleb's trying to get in right now. Actually, I think that Caleb's in his own zone. He's making up some ground right now, at least on second place. All the while, Charlie continues to stretch things out over the Axeman and the return of Paul Whibley after a 2-race absence after that summer break. He took that surgery, and whenever he started back, he said, I'm not real sure what's going to happen, but I had full confidence, and especially when he told me he'd been jet skiing all summer to try to rebuild himself after spending that time on the couch for the recoup time. But regardless, he's back. He's in good form right now as he holds on to the number 2 spot. Charlie in at a 28:07 lap time that last time around, so he's actually picked up the pace by a few seconds there over his first lap of racing. As Paul Whibley checks in, we'll get an official time gap between first and second, and the gap, Whibley turning a 28:22 on lap 1, a 28:37, so really not slowing down a whole lot, but 30 seconds is what we had estimated that he was behind. at the finish here, it's 28 seconds flat that he's behind. Now here comes Russell in. Russell head down, charging, looking way far ahead, searching for those guys, wanting to know where they are, trying to gauge where they are out there on the track so he knows what he's got to do.
Rodney, did you catch that Caleb was banging on his levers there? It appears he may have clipped a tree and had some stuff out of whack, and he took that opportunity on that short straightaway there to kind of rearrange things, and it's kind of indicative of the fact that he's obviously pushing hard. It doesn't look like he went down, but maybe just clipped a tree, and those levers are knocked down a little bit. Curious to see what Caleb's lap time is here. That's going to tell a lot.
A 39-second gap between first and second. Add 28 more onto that, and we get, right at 1 minute gap between the two. 28:44 lap time, that time for Caleb Russell. 28:07 for Charlie Mullins, and Paul Whibley turned to 28:37. So both riders able to pull a little distance here in lap number 2 as we roll into lap 3. Our top 5, Charlie Mullins, Paul Whibley, Caleb Russell, Jordan Ashburn in now, 25 seconds back and forth, and Rory Mead rounds out your top 5, only 2.5 seconds off the pace. We'll continue with more GNCC Live at RacerTV.com right after this.
The Can-Am Renegade 1000 XXC with the most powerful engine in the industry. The Outlander 1000 XT with a redesigned chassis for unequal trail riding. The Commander 1000 Limited, the most equipped, luxurious side-by-side in the industry. The facts say it's the most advanced lineup out there. But the ride says it all.
What we got here at AOMC is a huge selection. You can get everything you need for your off-road bike.
We're here to support the sport. Customer service is our priority. We all ride, so try to take care of our fellow riders.
This is a perfect spot for it. We're on 32 acres here, right in the middle of Appalachia, prime riding area. Yeah, really anything KTM has in stock, we have it. We get it the next day.
What excites me the most is that even after 12 years, I feel like we're just getting started. Hi, this is Tanner Harding, and today we're going to take a walk around Caleb's 2013 KTM 350 XCF. One of the coolest things about Caleb Russell's bike is it's pretty much all stock. You can go right into your KTM dealer and you can get an XC model, and it's great for trails, it's great for racing, it's a great all-around bike. So that's the 2013 KTM 350 XCF. I'm Tanner Harding. Thanks for checking it out.
Welcome back to GNCC Live. Just over that commercial break, we got word that Thad Duvall had a big crash out in the woods. It sounds like Thad's okay, but he's having some trouble getting his bike back started up. So right now, Chad Duvall and the Shenandoah Honda team is packed up. They're heading back out towards the woods. It sounds like Thad's around the 5-mile marker. Now, Rodney, it sounds like there's a rock section back there from just second word I'm hearing from other people around here. So when we get more information on Thad Duvall, we'll let you know. But as of right now, it sounds like he's having trouble getting his bike back up and going. So we're hoping that Thad can get that started and get back in the mix.
For sure. Thanks a lot for that update. You know, that's bad news for Thad. He'd already had some struggles. We'd seen him fall back to about 9th or 10th place, so he was probably in catch-up mode at that particular point whenever it all transpired there. And, you know, one thing to note, the rock garden here, I haven't seen anybody use it yet today. Have you?
No, I haven't actually, and I know none of us used it on yesterday during our race. It was it just didn't seem in here. This is our first shot of the mud hole, and that's really tricky what those guys are doing there. You see how Charlie's back end kicked out there, and it may look, these guys make it look so easy, but it's like walking a tightrope.
Here's the thing to point out. I mean, I know the ATVs didn't chew it out too much, but there's guys that they'll choose alternate lines, they'll come up short, crazy things will happen. This mud hole will literally probably develop even more over the course of the next 3 hours. Here comes Whibley. Is Whibley closed up a little bit on
Boy,
Paul?
it sure seems like it. I think that he definitely closed up the gap a little bit, and you know, Paul certainly. You know, one of the things you can watch when
there's some people using that. That was Mullins using that rock guard.
Yeah, there's Charlie. He used that rock line, so obviously he's taking it. But you know, one thing we caught there with Whibley coming through the mud hole, it was interesting to see. He didn't have any second thoughts about dabbing that leg. Obviously, that groin's back 100% or very near, and you know, guys can say they're 100% all they want, and when they get on the bike, you can see whether they are or not. And I think Paul Whibley going through the rocks as well. I think when you see the kind of confidence that Paul's riding with right now, I think 100% is certainly an accurate percentage for where he's at, both fitness and confidence-wise.
At least through this first hour anyway, an hour and 2 minutes, and now 40 seconds into this race, and Wibbs strong in the number 2 spot, still holding steadily and still holding a great pace above the 5.57 of Russell, who is now making his way down that hill section. Let's see what choice he makes here with this rock garden, and looks like he's going to do the same thing. They're all going to go right through it.
Yeah, you know, Caleb makes that look easy, and obviously he. I'm sure those guys went and checked that section out earlier, yesterday, or possibly even this morning, just to see exactly what they were going to do. They don't want to go into that blind, especially with this dust. So, you know, it's interesting to see. You know, we keep talking about Paul's fitness and where he's at with how bike ready he is. You know, I'm going to go ahead and stress it again, and you can say I'm bleed blue, all that kind of stuff, but, you know, Paul's tough. I just don't see Paul.
I don't think it has anything to do with what color your blood is. Paul is tough. I don't care how you slice it down. This kid right here is learning a lot from him, too. He's I think, acquired a lot of knowledge and a lot of skill. Jordan Ashburn back there still holding on to 4th place, and there is 5th place Rory Mead, who, glad to see him finally up to speed. It's toward the end of the season this year, but whatever issues you had at the beginning of the season, they seem to be waning right now. And it still looks like Mullins, Whibley, Russell, Ashburn, and Rory Mead, your top riders here in the first part of this. Now, as we go back a little bit, I believe we're going to be seeing an XC2 rider.
No, we got Josh Strang. It looks like he's really on the charge. You know, he was hanging out near the back end of that top 10, and it seems now he's really pushing himself. You know, he knows he's one of the guys that's in that top 3 battle for the end of the season. You know, it's Chris Bach, Josh Strang, and Thad Duvall that. And you know, and that kind of looms large this time of the year with points, and those guys are doing the math in their heads, or you know, they're focused on racing, and their pick crew's doing the math in their heads for them. But it really comes down to Josh needing to kind of minimize damage here early in this race. Whatever happened to him that he got behind, he's obviously pushing now and making up time. And then we've got our XC2 leader Andrew DeLong. So he's another guy that's here with just kind of a point to prove. Obviously with his injury, he's mathematically all but eliminated from the XC2 title hunt, but he wants wins. He wants redemption for what he feels should have been his, and he's a passionate guy, so he's going to ride with a whole lot of aggression.
We're looking at a little bit of earlier footage today from the NBC Sports crew for RacerTV, and always nice to have that kind of you know, times. But right now, speaking of times, I think that some of the best times in GNCC racing is, you know, a lot of times we think that the race that we watch right now are good times, but a lot of the folks in the GNCC Racing Nation that make their way in, Johnny, and you were like this coming into this, it's all about the family atmosphere and the family aspect of it all. Moms and dads bringing out the kids, investing not only time, but a lot of other, you know, just great effort in passing along the sportsmanship and honor and great things like that for these youth riders. And today we had another great youth championship race that unfolded, and each and every week it only gets better and better, and another one of those ones that went right down to the wire. I believe Cole Madison getting off to a pretty good lead earlier today, and here's Jim Kenyon.
I'm joined here with today's youth overall winner, Braxton McGee. Braxton, congratulations on another overall win here in the youth division. Tell us about the track out there.
Well, it's pretty good. I mean, it's dusty in sections. It's hard packed like asphalt in some sections, and I got off to a pretty good start. I got second off the whole shot, and then I got Cole right before we went in the woods, and then we hit a little uphill, and he got around me, and then I stayed behind him for a couple laps, and then I wrecked on the uphill after a creek jump or something like that, and then I kind of lost a little bit of ground and pitted, lost more ground, and then after that I just pushed, put my head down and charged, and got pretty close up to him, and then after that I just pushed him hard as I could, and then he's making mistakes, and I can see that, and he finally made a big mistake, and I got around him.
And then it was all gravy for the rest of the race, right?
What?
Said, and then it was all gravy from the rest of the race, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good then.
All right, well, congratulations on a good ride out there today.
Thank you.
And like we were saying, Cole got that whole shot out there, but man, him and Braxton had a heck of a ride, and we heard this story unfold there. But, Johnny, you know, we talk about this youth stuff, grassroots programs and things like that for GNCC Racing. We talk about you being a pro rider that has raced in 3 different decades, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s. And the thing that we want to point out, even though you haven't been racing pro for 30 years, I don't want people to think that.
Yeah, can we clarify that? Don't get me wrong, Rodney. I appreciate the the love,
the
whole on the front line for 3 decades. It's not actually 30 years. I think we're at 18 or 19. I'd have to sit down and figure it out. But
spanning 3 decades.
Yes, agreed. No, I'm just joking. I've been taking a little bit of heat here the last few days, weeks, if you will. Obviously in this sport, it's ruled mostly by the younger, and I don't know, for whatever reason, things have been piling up here recently, and everybody's been making comments about my age. So I guess I'm getting a little sensitive. I'm going to go ahead and be a little princess.
Well, no need to be sensitive because you're still very competitive and still an icon in the sport. There's no doubt about that, brother. But yeah,
go ahead. It was interesting to see in that little piece we just showed there with the youth riders. I mean, obviously we're watching currently Charlie Mullins out front, former GNCC youth standout.
Exactly.
We've got Caleb Russell, who he's battling for a championship. And although this is one you might be able to stump me on. I don't know. Oh, wow. Right in the finish line. These guys are really trying to make time. That's not the place to do it, obviously. But, I don't think Charlie and Caleb ever really battled each other on minis. I know Charlie was moved up through the ranks a little earlier. I think maybe 3-4 years ahead of Caleb.
Right.
I don't think
I think Caleb may have been on like 60s or something like that, but lined head to head. No, they were never. They were on the racetrack at the same time, but they never, until they both lined up in XC1 Pro class, never got the opportunity to go head to head like that.
Yeah, and actually, Charlie, although he's certainly not old by any means, he actually is a pre-XC2 XC1 guy. He came directly from 250A to XC1, so he was kind of in the era pre XC2. So but the bottom line is they are both former youth standouts, along with a number of these guys. Chris Bach, looking down the list. I mean, you got guys like Ryan Lojek. It goes back through Lane Michael, probably the most recent guys that are coming straight off of 105s and super minis and getting into 250A and XC2. Obviously the Baylor boys, Grant and Stu, and that's another thing. How's Stu faring so far? Where do we see him in our rundown?
In our rundown here in the XC1, I was looking for Phil Smith, the 44-year-old XC2 guy today. Don't think he's checked in yet. I might have put too much pressure on.
So Stu has checked in with 2 laps. He's back in 12th. Mm-hmm. Had a little bit of a rough. Looks like a little bit of a rough lap there with a 31:05. But looks like he's closing in on Adam. No, he was the 31:39. Yeah, so that was rough lap for Stu there. Could have just been a miscalculation. So he's definitely getting his legs back under him. A year's a long time to be off the bike.
Wow,
but he certainly still has the speed. There's no doubt, and he'll be back up in there battling soon.
The good thing about it for Stu, though, is he's got the mental confidence, and that's one thing that's going to help keep you not only mentally in the game, but it will also help keep you physically in the game for a while. As we pick back up out here at Gus's Mud Hole, the 7-mile marker of a 12-mile race course. We're on lap number 3, an hour and 11 minutes in. Charlie Mullins at 28 seconds ahead of Paul Whibley just 7 miles ago, as a matter of fact. And last check we saw him, it looked like Wibbs might actually be closing up that gap, as both you and I mentioned there, Johnny. But
yeah, I'd say that's not the case now.
Exactly.
We can see that Paul's definitely lost some ground. And I think, what we're seeing right now is unique to GNCC and off-road racing. It's not like a motocross where you're out there with just guys at your exact skill level in your class. We've got lappers playing in the mixed air and with the dust, and as tricky as this track can be, there's no telling exactly what may have happened with Paul that caused him to drop a little time there. And I think we've got possibly Caleb. No, definitely not. But
I thought that was a white background there. It wasn't the red number white background of Caleb Russell, which signifies point leader there in the XC1 Pro class.
There we show Caleb coming in now. So seems he stayed about the same. And Caleb's
Totally
still
different line.
one of the only guys in the XC1 class using that right line there, and it works well.
It does, and I would almost have to venture to say there was probably at least 2.5, possibly 3 seconds that he might have been able to pick up, at least a couple anyway.
Oh, definitely. It was, like I said, we were using that line to the left, but on ATVs we're a bit wider. That line to the right that Caleb's using, I actually walked that on Friday, and it's got a hard rock bottom, but where we were too wide to fit and would have dropped off kind of the invisible ledge underneath there, which wouldn't have been good. But those guys can skirt the edge of it. Ashburn obviously running that left line and still fourth and running strong.
Ashburn looks to be more on the attack than I've seen him in quite some, and actually even more in this race. So I think a lot of that might be indicated by the fact that he's got guys pushing him right now. Ashburn's got Meade back there. There's Chris Bach also back there. You see Bach going by on board the number 10. I think that might have been Meade not far off the pace a moment ago, unless this is him coming in now, and I don't think it is. I think that was Meade right behind Jordan Ashburn, and then Bach about 7 or so seconds back now in that, I think it's number 6 spot.
Yeah, it appeared to be Meade there, judging by the color of the gear that we saw flashing beyond the foliage. So Meade's, putting some pressure on Ashburn, and obviously with Bach back there putting some pressure on Meade. Oh, and Strang still hanging tough and continuing that charge.
Now, reflect back to a couple of races ago. We remember Josh Strang turning about this point in the race the fastest laps. There's DeLong checking in, leader of the XC2 Pro Lights class now at Gus's Mud Hole. But, Strang started turning some of the fastest laps. He chased those guys down. He passed them for a little while. And, Strang, coming into this race, fresh from the ISDE for Australia himself, he was feeling pretty strong, and Jen Kenyon caught up with him before the race this morning.
Josh, you just returned home from the ISDE in Italy. Talk about your experience over there and how it was to be racing, against all the world's best off-road racers.
Yeah, it was a good race for Team Australia at the 6 day this year, or every year when I race 6 days. So I get to go over there and spend time with my fellow countrymen, and it's a nice change to get to go back and hang out with people that are just wild. And I think I miss some of that sometimes, but it's definitely good going back and hanging out with a bunch of Aussies. As a team, it's really enjoyable, and I like doing that event a lot. And as far as world class, I think there's some. I think the GNCC series is world class in its own right. So to send a bunch of guys over, Caleb and Charlie, myself, and then a couple other guys from the West Coast going over there to race, it makes the racing very interesting. So it was a good race for everyone all week.
Now, you fared pretty well over there. Did you see like Caleb and Charlie and those guys very much, or did you kind of feel like you were in your own little world?
No, I went to Europe hoping I was going to race Europeans, and I ended up starting like within a minute or two of Charlie and Taylor Robert every day. So it was fun because I got to ride with guys that I knew how to ride with, and we have fun together when we ride. But at the same time, I wanted to go and race some Europeans. So it was good. We were all competitive, and but yeah, I saw Charlie the most, so it was good.
All right, well, you're going to see a lot more of Charlie and Caleb and everybody else here this weekend, and good luck out there.
Yeah, thank you.
It's amazing just to see how well Josh Strang has transitioned into the American lifestyle, but still got that love for the Aussies and things like that, but he still loves racing American GNCC racing. Good to see that he did well in Italy in the ISDE, and good to see
that's Thad Duvall pushing his bike there off to the right-hand side of the screen.
Wow.
That's a development there. We talked a little bit earlier about Jen had an interview where they were trying to track Thad down and get out to him and get his bike refired, but that is definitely Thad there. He's I'm sure at this point he's just disgruntled. I mean,
sure.
And Stu Baylor passing.
Yeah.
And actually the last rider prior to Stu would have been Grant Baylor, so those two are close together.
Wow, so there's Stu Baylor all the way back in 12th place position, and I know Stu, this being his XC1 Pro Racing debut, his return to racing after nearly a year of racing. It's a tough break for him, I know, to be back in 12th, but it's an amazing break for him at the same time to be out there on the racetrack. Jen Kenyon caught up with him earlier this morning before the race got underway.
Stu Baylor, we are used to seeing you in front of this camera for GNCC Live, but today you're going to be on the other side of things. Talk about how excited you are to get back to racing.
You know, I'm pumped. I've been wanting to be in the XC1 class for years, and you know, I'm finally here. Just wish it was a little bit different circumstances than it is. You know, I've been injured 18 months, you know, with a broken wrist, and you know, 5 surgeries later, I'm finally here. But you know, I'm definitely going to be weak. It's going to be tough. I'm thinking, you know, what I've been saying all day is race to the first turn and ride the last 3 hours. So, you know, if whenever you guys play this interview, you know, I've been in the trailer this whole time. Throw it in towards the beginning when I'm still going fast.
All right, so hopefully when we're seeing this right now, Stu Baylor's going to be in that top portion. But that's only in the first segment, which is the first corner. So you have three more hours left to go, Stu. What are you thinking?
Well, just play it literally in the first turn, because like after that, I'm going straight downhill. But you know, I'm just going to go out there, use it as a test day. I've talked to the boss man, and that's what he said. You know, use it as a test, figure out where I need to be and what I need to do to get there. You know, I can practice during the off season, and all I have to do is see what these guys are doing different than what we were in the XC2 class, and it's definitely going to be a big change. You know, we've seen everybody that's made that switch to the XC1 class struggle the first year. You know, I'm just hoping that I can get it, and you know, I'll have plenty of homework during the off season.
All right, well, good luck out there today. Stay in one piece, and we're looking forward to seeing you back in action.
Thank you. See you.
And it is good to see him back in action, and we got an update coming in from well, Big John, I think.
Go, Big John. Copy that, Rodney. 35 seconds between first and second. Charlie's lead pulling away from Whibley.
10-4, copy that. Where's that at, Big John?
Down here at the mud hole. Looks like Charlie wants to send this to Indiana.
I know he would love to play spoiler. Thanks a lot. So, yeah, sounds like he wants to send this one to Indiana. We see trail boss Jeff Russell down there trying to get radio reception. That's how far they are out at the 7-mile marker with the 989 of Thad Duvall. And look how frustrated he is. You know, I think Thad, you know, switched back from the 250 back to the 450 after having some pretty successful luck on the 250 a couple of races. And I know that Jen Kenyon actually did have a chance to catch up with him earlier today and talk with him a little bit about that, because he did make that switch back.
Thad, you're coming off a podium finish at the last round. You've had some issues this season with different bike problems and whatnot, but you're here on a new bike. Can you tell us about the switch in bike and why you chose to do that?
Yeah, you know, I was really gung-ho on riding the 250F here in Powerline, and, you know, I just got back from Italy. I've been over in Italy for 2 weeks. I did the 6 days enduro, and I was on a 250F over there, and, you know, I rode the 250 so much over there. I just wanted something new for this race, and, you know, I think I was like the 3rd day in, and gave Dad a call and was like, hey, let's get the 450 ready, and it's just something different. You know, I really only never really practiced on the 250F. I just really practiced on a 450 anyways, so it's not like I've been straying away from the 450. So, you know, I'm really comfortable on the bike, and, you know, with the 250, I have to ride it like 110%, and these I can get away with riding it like 80 and being safe, conservative, and so, you know, that's the way I want it to be today, and I just want to get out here healthy, and, you know, I want to get up and mix it up with Caleb and Charlie today. You know, both of them ride really, really well here, so I want to be on that podium.
All right, well, good luck out there, and hopefully we'll see you back there on the podium.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, he's not going to be in the on the podium today. Thad Duvall taking that bike off to the side of the track and dropping it. Charlie Mullins, leader, 35-second lead, making his way into the Orange Brigade FMF KTM pits right there. A little bit of comfort zone there. You don't see him any sense of urgency. This is the kind of riding that Charlie Mullins likes to do right there. And tough break, though, for Thad Duvall. He said he wanted to be up there mixing it up. Instead, it's Paul Whibley up there mixing it up. But Thad really, really wanted to be there bad today.
Yeah, definitely. You know, and you mentioned Charlie not really having the sense of urgency. Well, I think we're seeing why. We still don't see. Now we've got Whibley checking in here. You can see him popping his dry brake dust cap. He's getting ready for his fuel stop. They're obviously going to top off his Yamaha and send him back out in pursuit of Charlie. But yeah, it's a bummer for Thad. That it's unfortunate. Obviously, he's had some bike issues with that 450 this year, and had much better luck on the 250. But they made the choice to ride that bike, and I'm sure he had his reasons as he mentioned to us. So I'm sure he's. I shouldn't say I'm sure, but maybe he's kicking himself now.
Something to point out about now, you've seen him go off into the side and push that bike and just lay it over to the side of the track. Obviously, some frustration going on there. There's the 557 going into the pits now. Caleb Russell, he's going to get some gas and fresh goggles and a quick drink. But you even made mention whenever we went to interview there. Did you notice Thad wasn't wanting to let Jeff Russell do anything? Not give him a tow back, not wanting to let him, because he wants to ensure that if his crew makes it out there to him, they can get him fixed and get him back rolling. Why is it so important for him to get back rolling? Because you look and you say, well, Thad's running back in 15th place right now. Thing you got to realize is anything that he can salvage out of today is going to help him in maintaining a top 5 position in the points today.
Yeah, and like we talked about earlier, he's one of those guys that's been engaged in that three-way battle for third for the year. Well, Jordan Ashburn's riding himself right into that battle today.
Yeah.
With his solid 4th place position, and he's been riding solid the last several races. But I did notice that when and there goes Bach by. So Bach's now taking over the number 4 spot. No telling if he pitted or not because he's on the backside of the auxiliary pro pits. But I'm guessing he didn't. He's probably making a strategic move here with the dust, trying to get to the front of that 3-rider train that was Ashburn, Bach, and Mead, and we see Strang checking in there in the pits right up at the top. Looked like he made a quick stop for fuel. But with the Thad thing, there is a rule that if you're hooked to by a GNCC official or towed in any way, it excludes you from returning to competition for the rest of the day. So any good pro rider, any rider that is familiar with the rule book is going to know that, and that shows a lot of composure on Thad's part to know that he needed to make sure that he did everything he could in his power to finish this race out and salvage whatever points he can on the day. And unfortunately, it's been a rough year for those guys, the Shenandoah Honda team, and he's been riding well. Obviously won a race and been very consistent with his riding, but they've had some bike issues and some freak mechanical stuff and just off the wall stuff that I've never seen, and we talked earlier with Rory Mead, same thing. So, those two guys obviously are wanting to have good rides to kind of ensure themselves a good spot for next season, but also just to kind of build their confidence. And Rory seems to be doing well, but Thad obviously is out of the hunt for today.
Yes, for sure. And as we check in with our leaders, an hour and 24, nearly 30 seconds, hour and 24 minutes and 30 seconds. And leaders due in about right now, as a matter of fact. Through the final chicanes comes your leader, Charlie Mullins. Last lap time around 28:07.6 as Mullins rounds, the final few turns. A lot of chicanes going through there. If it gets into a battle down to the wire, it's going to be exciting to watch, as we've saw take place in a few classes already that we're racing here. But here comes Mullins trying to thread needles through the lap traffic, and he's doing it. He's just cutting it like a hot knife through butter, and those guys are getting right out of his way, it looks like.
Yeah, we see Charlie take a quick look down at his motorcycle, just checking on the status of things. Might have heard a noise, might have felt something a little strange. So he definitely wanted to get a look at things before he continued out on another lap.
28-second lead over Paul Whibley a lap ago. Whibley turned to 28:37.50. Charlie Mullins that time around on lap 3 turned a 28:37.56. Almost identical lap times, only different laps for those guys, Mullins and Whibley. So Mullins slowing down some 30 seconds, but I think that's a pretty good indication that they're all into that lap traffic. The dust is probably getting a little thicker out there, so the pace is slowing down just a little bit, even for Charlie Mullins and the rest of the field. And Mullins still checking in with the number 1 spot. A 28-second lead a lap ago, now 40 seconds even, 40.000 over Paul Whibley. Now, look at this. Here comes Caleb Russell. Last time around, 39.1 second gap between himself and Paul Whibley. He turned actually it was a 28:44 lap time. Last time around was the lap time that we saw for Caleb Russell. As Russell checks in at the end of lap number 3 now, we see a 28:39. Wow, that was almost identical lap times, right?
Yeah,
I mean, just a few seconds faster. So
a little faster
I'm
this lap, and Charlie slowed down just a little bit, so the gap stayed very similar. Where
it did.
Where it just over a minute, obviously, between the two. We've got a minute and 9 seconds between the top three. And, you know, one thing I think it's important to point out is we're at an hour 26 into this race right now. We're halfway.
Yeah.
Now is when, you know, we would expect to see Whibley show any signs of fading if he was going to do so. And, you know, I keep saying he's tough. And I agree with myself. He's tough. But he's definitely going, you know, if there were any lack of fitness, lack of bike skills. And, you know, Bach took over that fourth spot. We saw that there.
The battle was shaping up down at Gus's at that point. And look here. Coming in now hot as well, the 80 of Josh Strang. He was running 10th place a lap ago, 8th in the class, 10th overall as we get set to wrap up lap number 3. I think there's a world of changes taking place as we've got Mullins, Whibley, Russell, Bach, and Rory Mead now rounding out the top 5. Jordan Ashburn has dropped off the 6th. Strang up the 7th now, turning a 28:33, which is actually faster than anyone on the racetrack right now ahead of him. So Josh Strang is making up time. How much time is he going to be able to make up? Well, we will find out in a little bit. And also, it looks like Andrew DeLong is pushing the envelope out there, making up some time as well. We'll check in with the XC2 Pro Lights and the rest of our amateur classes as well when we continue with GNCC Live on RacerTV.com.
300 searing degrees. 750 pounds of metal twisting torque. 900 hard charging horses. You will never punish your motor oil like this. But it's good to know you could. AMSOIL. Push it to the limit.
Sometimes you come across something so different, you just have to stop and check it out. The Rocky Mountain ATV MC website has everything you need, from our huge selection of apparel and gear to dirt bike accessories and OEM parts. Our extensive inventory means most orders arrive in 3 days or less. Get low prices, quick shipping, and incredible customer service. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
VP fuels are the most consistent race fuel. It gives us the best throttle response. Any racer using pump gas should consider using VP. It offers bigger performance gains for your money than any other hard part. And the tuning change is easy when you switch to one of VP's entry-level fuels. We will not be as successful without VP.
VP Racing Fuels, purpose-built to take the lead and keep you there.
And we're back here at RacerTV.com and GNCC Live for the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. Chill Sunday watching my bro Jay Ashburn on GNCC Live. Technology is so cool. Thanks a lot, Danielle. That's at ID Chafin. And that is one of our tweets. Now, if you're going to tweet out today, make sure you hashtag that GNCC Live. And don't forget, we'll have some podium predictions coming up here in the final hour where you could possibly win yourself $250 in AMSOIL products. Tweet your podium finishes to GNC. Actually, hashtag them to GNCC Live. And we'll choose the winner randomly toward the end of the race. And no randomness here. It is Hot Rod Charlie Mullins out front in this long field section. We call it the Powerline field section. He just went through the rock garden there just a few moments ago, and he is looking back over his shoulder. Last check, 40-second gap between himself and Whibley, and I don't think that he even saw Whibley that time. But he keeps looking back. He might be seeing something back there. And we'll keep an eye out with him to see just exactly who is making their way into sight. There he is, Paul Whibley. Still some 40 seconds. He might have caught a glimpse of him coming off around the top of that hill, but Whibley now through the rock garden himself, and a pretty good line going through there. I think that one has smoothed out quite a bit. The guys have figured out what to use, so If you can go through there without making mistakes and use that line, you can make up some very valuable time on this race course. An hour, 31 minutes, and 45 seconds at mark. And that means that we're still stepping closer to concluding this race today and tightening this championship battle back up. As of right now, your third place ride, the points leader, Caleb Russell, with a 7-point lead coming into this one, I believe would probably lose the points lead if things were to finish the way that they are right now, or it would tie it right up. But it'd be right in the neighborhood of, basically what it's going to do is send it right on home to the final round of racing at the Ironman, regardless, basically, I think what's going to happen. But it'll stop that win streak, that 5-race win streak, and looking at 6-race win streak that Caleb Russell is on right now. And here comes Bach. Bach looks a little more aggressive here on this lap right now, as we see that he has moved up to 4th place. He was about 37 seconds behind Caleb Russell. Now, Andrew DeLong has moved into a top 5 ride overall, leading the XC2 Pro Lights class. And how about it? Let's take a look at our halfway report. It's the Mid-State Chevy Midway Report, brought to you by your friends at Mid-State Chevrolet, where they stack them deep and sell them cheap. Be sure and mention the GNCC Racing Nation when you go to buy your next car, truck, or van from right there at Mid-State Chevy, and they'll give you a great deal on a new set of wheels as they, once again, the official truck provider of the Grand National Cross Country Championship. MidStateChevy.com, stacking them deep and selling them cheap. Taking a look at the XC2 Pro Lights class. After 3 laps of racing complete, Andrew DeLong out front, enjoying a nearly 51-second lead over the 459 of Shane Hufford, who actually grabbed the whole shot in that class. UK 8, as we call him now. Actually, it's UK 1 this year because he won the XC2 Pro Lights Championship last year, and he's in the hunt for the championship points right now out of England. That 3rd place ride on that Dirtwise Academy ShaneWatts.com machine is holding on to 3rd place and valuable championship points right now over his competitor, who is back in 11th spot right now. But we got Thomas running in the number 3 spot. Lane Michael, the 23 out of Fairmont, West Virginia. Good to see him back up into a good position. 5th place, the 18 Scott Grills out of Wellington, Ohio. Ohio boy. 26 Chris Douglas, Cincinnati, Ohio boy in 6th. 27 Sam Evans is 8th. Or 7th. 8th is Justin Sode from out of Zanesville. 9th is Michael McGinnis. And rounding out the top 10, Grant Baylor just checked in. He actually moved up from 11th to 10th place. He's one of the most recent riders to check in. Here's something interesting. One of our top 4-stroke A riders, Trevor Bollinger, is riding right with him physically on the racetrack right now. We got Open A class, Dual Murphy, Big Jim Steiner. Actually, it's Little Jim Steiner on the 365 in 2nd. Timmy Murphy, who got the whole shot in this class, running 3rd. Bob Dunlap in 4th. Dylan Green in 5th. Brian Truxas in the number 6 spot. Is that Stu Baylor in the pits now? Yeah, Stu's over in the pits. If you're watching RacerTV.com and GNCC Live, he's worried about suspension right now. And he said that's what they were going to be doing, testing and tuning and things like that. And, heck, if he can't go out and be competitive, the least he can do is get familiar with this bike. And I think that's a good move as Jen Kenyon joins us back here in this one. And I know that that right there, it's pretty exciting to see Stu back on the motorcycle.
Yeah, it is. I think we've all had enough of him here in the RacerTV train. No, I'm just kidding. Stu is awesome to work with. We miss him a lot. We're happy to have Johnny, but of course we miss having Stu here. But you notice that every time something went wrong on Pro Row with any of the guys, whether it was a KTM or what, Stu was over there within seconds trying to help them out. So it's cool to see him troubleshooting his own situation, and actually, he's now in reality of his own racing. So
it's amazing to me how much that rider has matured off the bike, even be applied to the bike in the last year. I mean, just amazing. And right now he's working on that. While he works on that, Jen, I'm going to continue with our Mid-State Chevy halfway report here, the Midway report, as we look at the Open A class. Dole Murphy, Little Jim Steiner, Tim Murphy in 3rd, Bob Dunlap in 4th, Dylan Green in 5th, Brian Truxas in 6th, Brady Myers in 7th, Tommy Henderson is 8th, Colin Thomas running in 9th, and Nathan Thornhill rounds out your top 10. 250A class, Anthony Stone in the number 1 spot, Austin Lee Riding at Husaberg in the number 2 spot. Mike Wikowski, former top youth motorcycle pilot, in 3rd. Tyler Martin in 4th. Spencer Berkey in 5th. 6th is Tyler Braniff. Zach Hayes runs 7th. Aaron White in 8th. 9th, Alex Breroth. In 10th is Mason Atherton. The 208 class sees Ryan Slomko out front of this one. 704, Tristan Landerman second. Both Ohio boys. Slopko out of Londonderry. Nelsonville is home to Landrum. Mac Jones, the 65, is running in the number 3 spot, a former youth standout as well out of North Carolina. Nick Mellinger, the 196 in 4th. And Christopher Vendetti rounds out in the top 5 in the 208 class. 4-stroke A lights class. Trevor Bollinger leading that 4-stroke A lights class. We'll check in with the top amateur in a few moments. Ryan Ballou runs 2nd. Craig Long is 3rd. Jake Froman in 4th, Luke Parsons in 5th, Alex Teagarden is 6th, Andrew Powers 7th, James Bauer in 8th, and it looks like Justin Bednar rounds out your top 9, the 9 in the class. 4-stroke, actually Bet A 30-plus class, Nathan Allery and Curtis Ryan, shotgun Sean Remington, Big Jim Steiner in 4th, Joe Kessler is your 5th place ride, Anthony Capuzzi, the 395 in 6th, 884, Josh Nickel in 7th, and Kirk Allen in the number 8 spot. Senior A 40-plus class, the 60 of Larry Sylvia out of Hebron, Ohio, running in the number 1 spot. Leading a good buddy of mine from out of Jackson, Ohio, my hometown where I live. Amazingly, we never spoke until we came to the racetrack. But the 543 of Todd Gearing running in 2nd. 156, Troy Stanley is 3rd. Brian Belso in 4th. Mark LaBelle in 5th. Harry Engelhart is 6th. And Frank Tussle rounds out 7th of the class of the Senior A riders. Open B, Joseph McCarty leading Jordan Burkett. Ryan Inman running in the number 3 spot now. Frank Gallo is 4th. Derek Paw is rounding out your top 5. In 6th, Cody Johnson. John Wagner in 7th. Joe McKee in 8th. Brian Maskus is 9th. And Joe Sariski rounds out your top 10. In the 250B class, Aaron Bartholo is leading by only 7.5 seconds over Chuck Upperman. Ben Parsons running in 3rd. Trevor Murphy in 4th. In 5th is Aaron Miller. Looking down into the pits right now, is that Stu's? I see a green background, and I see Shane Watts, former GNCC champion, down there working on this one as well. That might be another XC2 rider. Yeah, it looks like at least a 3-digit ride. So we'll check in with that in a moment. But good to see Wattsy back out with us, master and dean of the Dirt Wise Academies and ShaneWatts.com. And like I say, just royalty of this GNCC Racing Nation. Glad to have him back out trackside today. So we check in with the 250B class in the Mid-State Chevy Midway Report. We're looking at footage now on the screen, an hour and 39 minutes into this one at Gus's Mud Hole. This is mile marker number 7. Our 250B class, as we were saying, Bartholo, Upperman, Parsons, Murphy, Miller, your top 5. Then Mason Pratt is 6th, Devin Burks in 7th, Colin Keegan in 8th, Austin Williams 9th, and Denver DeShong rounds out your top 10. 200B class, Trent Smith out front, William Ruckel is 2nd, Brandon Gearing in 3rd, Kyle Pettis in 4th. In 5th spot, Braden Moore. 6th place, Evan Earl. 7th is Sam Shaver. 8th, Russell Smith. 9th, John Hugel. Rounding out the top 10, Zachary Ferentz. 4-stroke B lights, Cody Pingley leading Cole Kirkhoff with Cody Jeffers in the number 3 spot. Logan Papu in the number 4 position as Matthew Kiefer runs 5th. John Lefter is 6th. Hunter Ayers in 7th. Daniel Sladovnik is 8th. Kyle Gray in 9th. And Luke Rush rounds out your top 10. Vet B30-plus class, Matt Bostian in the number 1 spot with Kenny Hawkins in 2nd. Chris McHenry is 3rd. Freddie Bain in 4th. Tom Truxell is 5th. Troy Andrewcat is 6th. Larry Hopper in 7th. Andrew Thorne in 8th. Dave Younglis is 9th. And Isaac Guest rounds out your top 10. Senior B class, Tom Derby leading Ralph Thorne by only 16 seconds now after 2 for them. Michael Bryan is 3rd. Devin Ferguson in 4th. Thomas Koenig in 5th. And Mark Adkins is running 6th. That's your Mid-State Chevy Midway Report. They stack them deep. They sell them cheap. Mention GNCC Racing whenever you go to buy your new car, truck, or van from Mid-State Chevrolet, and you're going to get yourself a great deal on a great set of wheels. Here's your second place ride, checking in near Gus's Mud Hole now as we are looking at that about 40-second gap. Starting to open up some, but still amazingly, Paul Whibley riding a strong, steady pace and holding consistently onto what looks like a second-place position. And if he can continue to do this for another hour and 20 minutes or so, which could be tough, he could help play spoiler for Caleb Russell in that championship battle between he and Charlie Mullins, who is out front. And I think that gap is now down under about 18 seconds or so. So we're less than 20 seconds between Whibley and Russell. We were at 29 seconds whenever they came through the finish line. there at what would be the 0 mile mark. At 7 miles, we see that some time has been made up by Caleb Russell over Paul Whibley. So in the second half of this race, when the push really comes to shove in the hour number 3, Caleb Russell could possibly advance in this one. But again, hey, we may be surprised at just exactly how much endurance that Paul Whibley was able to maintain, even resting for a couple months there on the couch. There's the number 10 of Chris Bach checking in at 4th. At Gus's Mud Hole, should be seeing Jordy Ashburn back behind him, and then Roy Mead, Josh String, Takeshi Koiketa, and I believe it's Ricky Russell rounding out the top 10. But here's the way the overall's breaking down. Andrew DeLong is actually leading the XC2 Pro Lights class. He's running 6th overall right now. Shane Hufford, who's 50 seconds back, runs 9th overall. Jason Thomas, 3rd in the class, is 11th overall. Lane Michael, XC2 Pro Lights, is 12th overall. Scotty Grills is 13th overall. Christopher Douglas is 15th overall. 4-stroke A Lights class leader Trevor Bollinger, the number 26 machine. He is leading the overall amateur status right now. He's 16th overall, and that's some pretty interesting news. Looking at Grant Baylor, he's all the way back in 22nd place position. A tough place for him to be, I know, here on a day. And I know that Phil Smith, my good buddy Phil Smith, who lined up on the XC2 Pro Lights class row today, rolling all the way back at 44 years old in 45th place overall. And I think that's 18th in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Well, I'll tell you, watching this battle unfold up front, we are really seeing something totally different than we anticipated and expected to see. And we knew that that was a possibility coming into this race. Reports of, and it's obvious, Grant Baylor going to the ISDE, riding on the junior team and so forth. Well, he had some issues on the final days of the ISDE, which might be something that might be holding him back. And I know that coming into this race, he was still pretty optimistic as he talked with Jen Kenyon earlier this morning.
Grant, you're currently leading the XC2 Pro Lights division with 2 rounds left to go, but it seems like you may have been struggling the last couple rounds. How are you feeling heading into today?
I'm feeling good. I mean, really, it's just I'm not good at pushing through the pack, and I've had bad starts these past 2 races. And you know, that last race, I was charging through the pack, and I was catching 3rd, and I was about halfway through the race, and my brakes went out. They actually locked up first, and I rode with them locked up. So every time I let off the gas, they would completely lock up, and my back tire would stop moving. And then I rode with it like after a lap, and then they completely burn up, and just my caliper exploded, and had no rear brakes for a lap. And then went into the pits and changed them. It took a minute, and then ended up 5th. But it was pretty good. I think coming in today will be good.
All right, so you got the bike all dialed in, but we have one more obstacle. Your brother Stu is back in action. Are you going to beat him or what?
Yeah, I'm planning on catching him first lap and just blowing his doors off and showing him how it's done.
All right, it's going to be the Battle of the Baylors here today.
Oh, look at this. That's the Powerline mud hole we were talking about, footage from earlier. Though the pros may elect to try to jump it, these other guys say they take their chance and try to ride through it. And there's some of the notorious mud fleas out there as well. These guys should have seen them yesterday with the ATVs. It was gnarly, nasty stuff. And look, you don't think that mud hole looks nasty. Look how hard it is for those guys to get up out of that. So as deceiving as it looked from one angle, this mud hole is still the challenge that we always thought and expected it to be. Double thumbs up with that dude right there. You looking good, dude. You're on RacerTV, man. Leaders, I think, coming through here probably shortly. An hour and 45 minutes is where we are right now. This is NBC footage, NBC Sports footage, that raw footage that they will be condensing down into a 30-minute TV program to air on NBC Sports here soon. We are RacerTV.com, and you are in tune to GNCC Live at an hour and 45 minutes into this one. Down near the Pro Pits area now, the Dunlop Tires Pro Pits section here on this Sunday afternoon in the GNCC Racing Nation. You can see that the Pro Pit area itself, kind of a not so active area. You got a few guys standing around here and there, but No one really anticipating any maneuvers over the course of the next lap or so. A lot of the team members out in some of those more detrimental areas of the track, more challenging areas of the track, pointing lines, trying to help people pull out, whatever the case may be. So not a whole lot of excitement as far as the pits themselves, but that could liven up pretty soon as these leaders are due in here pretty shortly into this section of the course. They're actually due in about 7 minutes for lap number 4 complete. An hour and 46 minutes and 45 seconds now. Looking at nearly a 3-hour race is what we're scheduled for here on this Sunday afternoon. And while we wait for these guys to check in, you know, I've been talking about it. You know, GNCC Racing, you know, we talk about GNCC Racing being an everyman sport, being a grassroots program, being a sport that, you know, was designed for the average person to be able to come out, race, and be competitive, and also for professional and international riders to come out and race and be competitive and be able to mesh them all together. And one of those guys that has been doing it for some time, 44-year-old Phil Smith, who recently wrapped up the senior 40-plus class, decided to run XC2 today.
I'm Phil Smith, 44, Lorain, Ohio. Ride for KTM and Appalachian Off-Road, Maxxis, Fly Racing, PG Graphics, and Clockwork Tanks. I ride 40A class. Won that this year early, so decided to move up the XC2 class, try to help my overall number out a little bit. Don't expect too much, but hopefully we'll have a good day and get up in there and do things. I've been racing since 02, full time. I tried a couple in 09 and 2000, and I broke my collarbone in 01, so I missed that year. And then I did a full season in 02 and been pretty much hooked ever since. Best I've ever done overall for the year is 23rd overall for the season. And that was actually out of the vet class. And I did 250A a couple years, got an 8th and a 10th. And that was pretty much the XC2 back then. So my goals today is just to survive, get a decent start, and try to better my overall. You know, I start 8th, 9th row in the age groups. So we're back pretty far. So with the class wrapped up, I figure I'd start 2nd row and try to better my overall a few positions, make it a little easier on myself, you know.
Well, there you go, Phil Smith. That's what GNCC Racing's all about. The 43 machine was running 18th. He's up to 16th now as he moves up through the XC2 Pro Lights class. A little quick check in him in the overall right now. I know that he was running somewhere in the neighborhood of the 40s. And right now, as we check in with the 4-3 machine, he is running, dropped back in the overall a little bit to 49th overall, but commendable job there being in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Good to have Phil out with us and continuing to be passionate about GNCC Racing. We're down in the Pro Pits right now. We're waiting on the leaders, the VP Fuels Pro Row, waiting for these riders to check in. We had Mullins out with a 40-second lead over Whibley. Russell was nearly 29 seconds back behind Whibley, but we also saw and noted there at the 7-mile marker that gap had been cut quite a bit. Here comes Mullins in now as he is still on a rail, and you can tell that Mullins, he hasn't slowed his pace down any. I think he's stayed about as consistent as anyone has been able to stay. He turned a 28, a little over 20. I think it was 28.40s the first lap. And that makes sense off the start and everything. And then we seen a 28.07 on lap 2, 28.37 on lap number 3. And I have to say that I think he's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of that 28.5-minute mark once again. But then again, you know, as smooth as he's riding, he might have picked up the pace and we not even realize he's as fast. And look at this. Talk about a drag race for second place. That's exactly what it is. Down through the Pro Pits, Caleb Russell has caught the defending champion, the Axeman Paul Whibley, as they go at it, slicing and dicing down in front of the pits. And Russell was trying to put some, trying to gain some of that real estate, get around Whibley, and try to keep Charlie Mullins, if he's able to take this win. from putting more points between himself and Russell and securing that #1 position heading into the final round again. So if Russell can get around here, it's going to make things pretty interesting. And as interesting as I think anything as we get set to roll into hour number 3, the hour where the tell the tape is really told the best. And Caleb Russell always seems to tell the strongest story, and Russell is showing that right here as we approach that 2-hour mark right now, trying to move into second. I think he's trying to position himself to start to track down Charlie Mullins now. Johnny Gallagher joining us back here in the CarMate studios of RacerTV.com and GNCC Live. And Johnny, man, I'm telling you, buddy, Caleb's hungry. Earlier it looked like, and we knew it, he's just kind of settling the pace. It takes him a lap or two, and it always seems like, he said, well, I kind of got arm pumped that first lap and a half, and it seems like once he works through the arm pump, all of a sudden it becomes a whole different rider, and we're seeing that whole different rider now.
Oh, certainly. There's no question that Caleb's obviously showing his aggression, his drive, his desire right now, and he needs to. We're an hour and 52 minutes into this race, and Charlie's still rocking that comfortable lead, and with Caleb now putting the pressure on Whibley, obviously those two are going to start pushing each other. Whibley's not going to give up that spot without a fight, so he's going to pick up his pace. That's going to make Caleb pick up his. Charlie has the unfortunate position of being out front and being the rabbit, and these guys are the hounds, and they are, hare and hound chasing him down. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm really curious to see. It should be just a couple minutes until they check in with the completion of lap 4. I can't wait to see Caleb's lap time to see how much he actually shaved off, if he's gotten faster, if Charlie's maybe backed it off a little bit. It's always impressive to me how well these guys can maintain their lap times throughout the course of a 3-hour event without the benefit of any kind of timers, at least that I know of. We don't have any. I don't think they do either. We saw Charlie last time with was it 2 laps in a row? He had laps that were within like 3 seconds of each other. And if you go back through the lap charts throughout the year, Charlie and Caleb do that week in and week out.
Yeah, and actually it seems like the final hour, a lot of times it gets a little faster. Charlie now nearing the completion of this lap. Says he's due in 15 seconds at the finish line, so I think he's right on pace. I think we're seeing, and honestly, I think Charlie looks a lot more aggressive this time through this chicane section than we saw him in the recent laps. I think that Charlie knows and's got the word that Caleb's coming hard. It's time to pick that pace back up. It might have been some good time for Charlie there to actually settle back a little bit, regroup, rest, and get set for this last hour of charging.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see, like you said, it's visibly noticeable that Charlie's really picked up his pace, and he is not wasting any seconds whatsoever.
He may have picked up his pace through that last section of the track, but he actually lost 10 seconds overall lap time. He turned to 28:47 that time. But toward the end of the lap, it looks like the aggression has gotten back in there. Russell has gotten no, he hasn't.
Nope. We still got Whibley there in second, and Russell right on his heels. I can tell you just by the distance, Rodney, these guys made up ground on Charlie this lap, or Caleb made up ground, I should say.
Yeah.
He was not even into the chicane section last time when Charlie went through the finish. Whibley was barely a few turns in. I would say, Charlie may have gapped Paul just a few seconds, but Caleb's definitely made up ground. And
all right.
We'll see the lap times here in a second, but yes, you are correct. Charlie may have lost a little bit of time, but his crews made him aware that Caleb's on the charge, and he's not going to let that happen without a fight. So now we're seeing the aggression.
28:49 lap time for Paul Whibley. Last time around, a 28:39 for Caleb Russell that time. 28:51 for Whibley, so only actually lost a couple of seconds there, and a 28:24 as Russell does pick it up out here on lap number 4 as we're looking at more of our footage.
Wow. Yeah, that's there's our Powerline mud hole, and that's what this place is all about. Powerline Park, Powerline mud hole.
Remember how easy that looked whenever we said, oh, that doesn't look like much here, but man, I said the characteristics of this hole would change, and it has. It's starting to get
Look at those ruts on the landing. These guys they're just sending it in there and hoping for the best.
That dude's seat is nearly buried down there. He's down to the top of the wheel anyway. That's crazy, man.
Look at how many spectators we have down here. Oh, and here comes Charlie. Well, obviously this is a cut from Smooth knows exactly.
Wow, even
a little
to
mistake. As he makes a little bit of egg on my face, I said, "Oh, he's going to be super smooth, hit his line perfect," and it just shows how difficult that section is. Obviously, if it can take a rider the caliber of Charlie's and make him second guess a line he's picking, obviously it's a pretty difficult section.
I'm curious to see maybe if it's areas like this is where Charlie, or actually Caleb and Caleb was able to make up time on both of these riders or not. But so it goes to show you, not even only the amateur riders can struggle on the racetrack, and some of the pro riders can do the same thing. Here comes Whibley now. Let's see how he manipulates and maneuvers through this mud hole. He nearly comes to a stop, hops it over, and immediately goes right. I think he saw what was going on. Oh, Russell nearly trying to go off into that deep one. I think they're
and there's what happens if you don't go just that extra foot off the lip there. There is definitely a price you pay for coming up just a few inches short, and we're seeing it there. And there's another one. So these guys are obviously showing you what it looks like for normal people. And these are some of the best riders in the country in their own right within their division, obviously. But it really shows the elite and how well they can navigate these sections.
I know we're seeing droves of people down there. That's a lot of people, but that's only a small percentage of the people that are down there right now. And they're all anticipating what's going to happen in this final hour of racing. We're an hour and 57 minutes into this race, a little more than an hour to go of the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. Charlie Mullins continues to lead. Paul Whibley after 4. Caleb Russell only 1.9 seconds back in the number 3 spot. Jordan Ashburn holds on to 4th. Chris Bach rounds out your top 5. And here comes a hard-charging Josh String as he now holds on to 6th place. We'll be back with more GNCC Live right after this.
What do you call a machine that combines precision-engineered handling, industry-leading power, and a rider-focused design? We call it a Can-Am. From the essentials to fully loaded, you'll find that same combination in every ATV and side-by-side we build. And right now, get your own for as low as $149 a month. Can-Am, the ride says it all.
What we got here at AOMC is a huge selection. You can get everything you need for your off-road bike.
We're here to support the sport. Customer service is our priority. We all ride, so kind of take care of our fellow riders.
This is a perfect spot for it. We're on 32 acres here, right in the middle of Appalachia, prime riding area. Yeah, really anything KTM has in stock, we have it. We get it the next day.
What excites me the most is that even after 12 years, I feel like we're just getting started. Hi, this is Tanner Harding, and today we're going to take a walk around Caleb's 2013 KTM 350 XCF. One of the coolest things about Caleb Russell's bike is it's pretty much all stock. You can go right into your KTM dealer and you can get an XC model, and it's great for trails, it's great for racing, it's a great all-around bike. So that's the 2013 KTM 350 XCF. I'm Tanner Harding, thanks for checking it out.
Welcome back to GNCC Live on RacerTV.com. Nearly 2 hours into our 3-hour race at the ITP Powerline Park GNCC as we go down now with a live update with Barry Hawk from the 3-mile marker. What's going on, Barry?
Rocks at the end of the 3-mile marker, and Caleb Russell is just now going into the rocks. He's 45 seconds behind Charlie Mullins, and here goes Paul Whibley. So Caleb has put, since the last time I've seen him, Caleb has put a few seconds on Charlie, but it looks like, I'm sorry, Caleb put a few seconds on Whibley, but Caleb is really charging, and I think it's going to get really interesting because Caleb is pushing really hard.
10-4. Thanks a lot, Barry. So still plenty of time. Still plenty of time to make up that ground, and I know looking at lap times right now, Johnny Gallagher, you know, it almost appears that Caleb may be on the winning side of things with only a couple of laps left to go in a 6-lap race.
Certainly, if we look at the numbers, Caleb making up 23 seconds on that last lap, it's going to make it a virtual wash between these guys here in about another lap and a half. So with Barry estimated a 45-second gap between first and second, Mullins and Russell, with Caleb being 23 seconds faster with 2 laps to go, You do the math quick, and you're talking 46 seconds, and they're 45 apart. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better story than that coming down. You know, white flag, if we're in the neighborhood of 25 seconds apart. I mean, obviously, Charlie's going to dig deep, but Caleb is going to too. So, you know, Charlie's probably gotten the word from his crew that Caleb's coming. Charlie's going to pick it up. So this lap's going to tell a lot. If Caleb can continue to chip away like he did last lap, I think that maybe it's possible the momentum's swinging here.
You know, the amazing thing about this weekend of racing is everybody that I've talked to, I don't know what it is. I don't know whether it's Ohio, whether it was the weather, or what the case may be, the end of the championships for a lot of these guys, but the air really seemed to be a lot lighter this weekend on the ATV side of things and even over here on the motorcycle side of things. Charlie Mullins, who basically, you could say, back against the wall in a hunt for this championship. Caleb Russell back against the wall in the hunt for this championship. Both riders look as calm and cool and collected as any riders I've seen, as if maybe it's still only in the first or second round of the season. You can't really tell that they're in that heated of a battle for the championship.
They've showed that composure all year long. Like I said, it seems they always have that game plan to come out, ride composed for the first hour and a half, which today I think we saw Hot Rod really check out Charlie mode, as you put it. He wanted to push the pace early and see what Caleb was made of. Caleb's responded back now with a couple good laps and actually chipping away at the lead that Charlie had built. You know, you touched on a good point there with both of these guys being Ohio boys. I don't feel that either one of them obviously has an advantage of any kind with home state fans or anything like that. Obviously, everybody along this track is cheering for both of these guys. You know, Caleb lives in North Carolina now. Charlie lives in North Carolina now, but they're Ohio boys. I'm an Ohio boy, and I'm claiming them. I'm calling them. That's all it is. They're Ohio. They're racing for this championship right now in Ohio, doing battle. The fans are going crazy. It's a great show out there, and I can only imagine. You know, you mentioned earlier in the show, if this comes down to the final turns, can you imagine how many people are going to be packing that area watching these two do battle?
It'll be crazy, no doubt about it. Speaking of people, man, we've had a big turnout of race fans here this weekend. Yesterday for the ATV racing, and yesterday and evening for the UTV race, the side-by-sides that we do. Probably one of the largest spectator turnouts I've seen of people just sticking around. It looked like an XC1 Pro class start yesterday for the UTVs. And, man, I tell you, it was an exciting battle. William Yoakley, who is the defending champion, actually ended up getting the win, but he had competition coming in from the Jack's Excavating team, which was driven by a guy named Mouse. That's all I know this guy by is Mouse. That's all he'll tell me. And also his nephew, John Yoakley. I mean, those three went at it, and somehow or another, William was able to thread some needles out there, and they tightened up the championship. And now William and John Yoakley are only a couple points away as far as the national championship title is concerned. And we had a chance to catch up with William yesterday after that big win, as they only got one more round after this one left to go, and he's going for yet another national title in the side-by-side racing.
We're here with the #1 machine, William Yoakley. Your National Guard Polaris Coastal Drilling team took the overall win here today. Can you tell us about the track conditions out there?
Oh, the track was awesome. I tell you what, we took off, and there was a little bit of mixture of everything because, you know, there were some really dusty sections. The visibility was like zero, and then we get into some mud and water, and it was a pretty wild, really fun track, and there's a really fast pace right off the get-go. The guys are out front running. I just kind of wanted to settle in and get comfortable with the track, and once we did that and we all kind of got out front running there towards the last 3 or 4 laps, I caught the Big Country Polaris car and Jack's Excavating. We all battled for a little while, and then I took the lead on next to last lap, and I tell you what, everything worked great. I tell you, this slick track out here, my CST Behemoth tires with the tire balls, they was a must out here on this track. The traction was awesome, and my Yoshimura powered Polaris just ran excellent, you know, with the National Guard and Coastal Racing behind me, and on Walker Evans suspension and the Holtz Racing suspension components. I tell you, every one of my sponsors played a key role in today's win, you know, because everything took a beating. A lot of the rocks, high-speed stuff, and my OMF wheels held up really well, and I just can't thank everybody enough. It was exciting.
Oh, I bet, man. It sounds like a lot of different factors come into making one of these machines run. With the high level of competition you guys have out there and how big these machines are, you have to be really tuned in to really make it through one of those races, huh?
Yeah, I tell you what, everybody's really on top of their game, and you got to start with a good platform, which with Polaris Industries, we got that covered, you know, and the XP900, you know, couldn't pick a better machine to start working on, get in, and the competition is so stiff out there today that you got to have everything perfect, and everything has to work together, or it's going to be, you're either in the back or you're lucky, so.
Well, it sounds like today you were very lucky, as you usually are, so good job out there, and congratulations on a big win.
Thank you very much.
Well, William Yoakley taking another win, one step closer to a national championship. And a former ATV racer himself, Johnny Gallagher, you've battled with William Yoakley on more than one occasion. You probably got a little taste of what nephew John got there in those final laps when it came down to the battle for the win there.
Yeah, William's he's a diehard racer. He's not going to let family or anything else stand in the way of him doing what he does. Certainly a clean racer. I raced with William for a number of years. Couldn't call him anything but clean and classy, but he's aggressive. He's not afraid to bump and bang, and he's got a whole lot of experience. And like you said, John kind of got a taste of it there, and John obviously has come up watching William race, and even his dad, John, years ago was a GNCC star in his own right, many, many years ago, maybe even before your time, Rodney. I'm showing my own age here. But John Yoakley, John Allen's dad,
actually,
was...
Yeah, John was pre-me, actually.
Yeah, we're going back to early 90s now, maybe even late 80s. And, you know, before many of the people in this trailer here were born. And we're showing our age down here. We got the Geritol end down at the far end of the Racer Productions Carmate trailer studio. Sorry, Carmate studio. But, yeah, William has a lot of racing experience to draw on, and taking it down to those final turns and getting the job done. You know, it's something John Allen's going to probably draw on in the future, and who knows, maybe that #1 plate will change hands this year or next year. It's cool to see a family affair like that, though.
It is, and something even neat about that side-by-side racing, they have passengers. William Yoakley's passenger is his wife, Tina.
You know, Rodney, I got to say, I don't know if I could do it if I were her or her or anyone else. I just couldn't do the passenger thing, the lack of control, not having a steering wheel, not having a throttle, not having a brake. I give her a lot of credit, and I oftentimes wonder if on their drive home, if they, you know, debate choices that they made on the racetrack, which obviously yesterday, nothing to debate. They got the win. They did what they needed to do. And, you know, I don't know. I'd prefer to call those co-drivers rather than passengers, because I think those guys are watching lines and throwing their 2 cents in. And, you know, they choose their co-driver based on their skills, not just, you know, hey, you want to sit in my car while I go drive around. It's pretty intense. So
it is, and I've ridden passenger on them, so I know Tina's job isn't easy. We saw Charlie Mullins checking in there just a moment ago with still the lead out there. He's at Gus's mud hole. This is the 7-mile marker, the Amsoil 7-mile marker, and here comes Caleb Russell. Look at that. He is closing up quite a bit of gap, and he's continuing to use the totally different line. And Whibley's still back at third, Ashburn in fourth, and Chris Bach, I believe, in that number 5 position. Want to remind you folks, tweet your podium predictions to with hashtag GNCC Live, and you could win $250 in AMSOIL product. Winner will be chosen randomly toward the end of the show. There's Paul Whibley making his way in and through Gus's mud hole, and I think as important as anything, making his way back to the GNCC Racing Trail. We had a chance to catch up with Paul and talk with him a little bit about that injury this morning.
Yep, I'm back here at St. Clairsville. I've had 3 months off the bike after my groin and sports hernia surgery. So I'm kind of looking forward to kind of getting back into the racing. It's been kind of pretty tough sitting on the couch and watching everyone else go racing. So it's I'm really looking forward to getting back out there and then getting back into some sort of bike fitness and building up for the 2014 season. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Paul going to be coming back 2014. I know he's got another year on the Ampro Yamaha contract. And something really cool, there's going to be some pretty neat things. We had Jessica Patterson in here earlier. Her fiance / business manager, Eddie Ray, I believe, you know, kind of excited about what 2014 has to hold. And he basically said it to me like this, Johnny. It's going to be awesome, man. We're going to be back here. We love this. We're coming into this, and he says we're going to try to bring a lot of stuff that we know from the outside, the other motorcycle racing industries, into this and see, you know, if we can't help even revolutionize it even more. I mean, they're excited about being out here, and I think that's pretty cool. And there's another one of their teammates. There's Jordy Ashburn. Another solid performance, a great solid performance.
Did you see who was right on Ashburn's rear wheel there?
Is that
Josh
Bach?
Strang? No.
Strang. Strang's up there now, huh?
Yeah, we have Strang right all over Ashburn's rear wheel. So obviously he's, you know, as you pointed out, he turned the quickest lap out of the top, out of anyone, but certainly out of the top guys 2 laps ago. And he's continuing that speed now. And a couple things I noticed while we were watching that last clip. You saw Caleb come in and he used that right line, but you saw him picking up that visor, looking ahead. One thing we can't see from this view is the opposite direction facing the way these guys are looking. You can actually see all the way up through Gus's mud hole. There's a few little holes after that. There's a bend, and then the track kind of comes back across. So I promise you, Caleb Russell was looking for Charlie Mullins right there. There is no question that he knows he's making up time. His crew's telling him that they are, you know, getting within striking distance, and any racer will tell you in any form, whether it's off-road, on, anything like that, when you can see him, you can beat him. That's his attitude. It certainly isn't that easy, but that's what Caleb is thinking right now. If I can see him, I can beat him. I need to get him in eye shot. So that's Caleb's goal. His immediate goal is to get Charlie within eye shot. And with, you know, 50 or 49 minutes left now, you know, that's his goal, to get him within eye shot. And then also, as they came through there, you know, really have to just give it up to Paul Whibley. Can't say enough about how hard he's fighting right now, and I mean, those guys have really distanced themselves, the top 3, over, you know, the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th between Bach, Strang, and Ashburn that's going on there.
Wow, it looks like Jedediah Haynes in his return to GNCC after his own bout with injury over the summer break there is experiencing some problems from the XC2 Pro Lights class. He's down there in the M Pro Yamaha pits right now as the team is trying to work Steady Eddie and get him ready to roll back into this. I know Jed is he's eager to get back out there on the racetrack simply because he hasn't been there for a while. He says you don't realize how much you miss racing until you're away from it, and he says it's like an addiction. He can't hardly function without it. So Haynes actually checking in at the end of lap 3 was 38th place overall. Now, as far as his class was concerned, I think he was a little further back than that, somewhere in the neighborhood of 18th, 19th. Let's see, actually 16th place. Phil Smith now up to 15th, my 44-year-old buddy racing the XC2 Pro Lights class today. Won the senior or the vet 30-plus class last year, the A class. Senior A class, he wrapped up early. He says he's going to race these last 2 races in the XC2 Pro Lights class.
Yeah, that's cool. Definitely, it's interesting to see people towards the end of the season. You see a lot of class swapping going on. People wrap up their championship or they're locked into a points position one way or another, and they give a shout out. You know, try something different. But you know, 44 years old to jump into that XC2 class. I mean, that's a young class. You look at the roster there. I mean, you've got 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, you know, up to young, early 20s kids that are out there twisting the throttle and feel invincible and nothing to lose. And at 45, I know how I feel at 35, so I could only imagine, you know, another 9 years from now, you know, going out and mixing it up with the kids. But who knows? Maybe I'll still be doing it. But I don't think so.
Some tells me you will. I don't know. 5 decades of GNCC.
Oh, boy, here we go. Yeah, 50 years. He's only 40 years old, but 50 years on the front row. You managed to add years to my age on a daily basis. But one thing we noticed there looking at that XC2 class is Grant Baylor back in that 9th position, and certainly not where he wants to be, obviously. Oh, and Thad Duvall's back out on the track, and that's what we discussed earlier. You know, with him not allowing himself to be towed in, he kept open the possibilities for him to return to the race. And sometimes, as much as it is salvaging points, it's also just it's a point of pride. It's a point of you know, not giving up.
Yeah, how far back can I come from and make up? A lot of these guys might be thinking about that too. Look at that, man. I mean, he's racing like. He's got all the energy in the world. Even after pushing his bike, he had to have pushed his bike a mile or 2 or 3 from back deep in the woods back there, because we saw him out near the 7. We'd heard that he broke down out near the 5, if memory serves me correct.
Yeah, you know, and I bet today's a day he wishes he would have rode that 250, not because he wouldn't have had the problem, but there's certainly a weight difference between that 250 and 450, and I can only imagine how heavy that 450 was to push through these Ohio woods and the deep silt that's been established over the 2 days of racing so far, and we can see how loamy the soil's gotten, and I definitely feel for Thad, but you know, it shows his conditioning, shows his heart to still be out there pushing, and he just never knows what could happen, and you'd hate to look back at the end of a season and think about a point you could have earned if you would have done this or would have done that, and you know, that's what makes Thad what Thad is, and he never gives up, and you know, I call him like I see him, and for better or for worse, and I think Thad will respect me saying this, I empathized with Thad a few years ago. You know, he had some issues, demons, if you will, I think, certainly some mechanical issues, freak stuff, but you know, Thad also had some issues of his own, and to see what he's done to resurrect his career, it's awesome. I mean, it's really great to see him up there battling for wins and podiums, and he's such a great talent, such a charismatic guy. The sport would definitely be less without him here, and the fact that he dug deep, his family rallied around him, his fiance, you know, his mom and dad, who've been a big part of his program forever. When he was down, they never let him be out. You know, they along with obviously his core group of sponsors, put a program together for him that has allowed him to come back to where he is today, which is battling at the top of the sport, and that's awesome to see. It just goes to show you never give up, and good things happen.
They do. And, you know, he's working hard out there. Though he might not be in position to take any overall wins or podium positions today, you can still make a prediction of who you think will make the podium today. Tweet your podium finisher predictions to, well, on Twitter, and hashtag those GNCC Live. And it looks like Megan Wallace at M Wall with a bunch of L's. I think what's that, 4 L's? M Wall. GNCC is live is the best thing when going down the road. So she's actually tuned in driving down the road, watching and listening to GNCC Live. Glad to have you tuned in on RacerTV.com.
We're going to go ahead and assume that she's obviously in the passenger seat, not driving.
Well, of course.
There's no way that she would be, you know, checking her social media while piloting a vehicle. So
Never. And our leaders in the pits now, as they are making their way through some lap traffic, they're trying to manipulate through as well. Could play favor, could play spoiler all at the same time.
Rodney, I got to tell you, I'm excited. We're just a few miles away from them checking in here at the end of lap 5. And again, this is, you know, the math is going to come into play here. And we're going to see just how much time Caleb has to make up in this final lap of racing, which is what it should be. I mean, we should be seeing a white flag, obviously. So, boy, I got to tell you, I'm kind of surprised. I expected to see Caleb coming through this corner by now, but
you know, I'm beginning to wonder. I think at the mud hole, he probably was a little faster on pace, a little tighter on pace. And it is starting to seem like an uncomfortably large gap starting to open up now back there to the number 2 spot.
Yeah.
There
he is. You don't know how lappers could have played into that. Obviously, we don't know. And we're going off of our feel. None of us, I see you're not holding the stopwatch, and neither am I. But, there's Tanner's board. It tells the tail 50 seconds.
Yep.
That's not what Caleb needed this lap. I mean, 50
That's
seconds.
what it was. That's what he had him at a lap ago, right? At this point.
Actually, 2 laps ago, he had him at 56. Last lap, he had him down to 45. And then midway through, he made up another 20.
Yeah.
So we were down, you know, sub 40 into the 30s, and now we're back up to 50 seconds. So
wow,
certainly. Hey, and we see
the Axeman.
Yeah,
Big Daddy. There's Catherine. Now see Catherine. She's got the little baby bump. I just found out this morning that February the Wibleys are going to be expecting a young son. And it was pretty neat. I walked around behind the M-Pro Yamaha pits today, and I'm not used to seeing Paul in his white van, you know, wrapping his arms and doing his pre-race rituals. I walked around there today. There was a motorhome. There was baby gates lined up, and Catherine and Paul were standing there, and there was a little baby pot-belly pig down there. And then there was a little baby there with Catherine. You can see. She goes, "Look, have you told him we're going to have a baby?" And I was like, "Oh my, you are."
Was that your best accent right there?
No, that was my best Catherine Wibley impression.
We'll let you have it. If that's what she sounds like, that's what she sounds like.
In my mind, that's what it is.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that was actually pretty good. But yeah, definitely new and exciting things happening for the Wibley family with Catherine and Paul. You know, with, like you said, the pig, and I asked the pig's name, and they said Piggy.
Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy. And I said, no name. Yeah, Miss Piggy. Okay, makes sense. But
they don't have a name for the kid yet, but he isn't here yet.
I thought. Oh, that's not the kid's name?
No, Piggy's not the name.
Okay. All right, sorry. There was a little confusion there, but no, it's we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. You know, 1 lap to go. We're going to see Charlie coming into the finish line real soon here, and obviously Charlie's put in a spectacular ride today. It's unbelievable that he's been able to do this all by himself for the last 3 laps now.
This is what he's wanted to do the last 2 rounds when we were in the last 3 or 4 rounds probably that Caleb has won. This is what he's wanted to do. And, you know, each race almost it seems like he's had himself in this position early in the race, but somewhere about 20 minutes or so ago, the last few rounds, Caleb had caught him, and they ensued in a huge battle, and then Caleb passed him and started gapping him, and, well, maybe not so much gapping, but at least at times he would gap him, but we still see some good solid finishes out of these guys. But today, solid as it is, Charlie has ridden, from what we can tell, other than that one little problem there at that Powerline mud hole where he made a little miscue there and lost just a few seconds. This looks like about as mistake-free race day for somebody as one can have, at least through 2 hours and nearly 22 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. I think what's going through Charlie's mind right now is he's going to take a big breath here in about 2 seconds. He sees that white flag, he's through. He knows he's got this track and himself one more lap. At this point, he is not racing Caleb Russell. He is racing the track. He is racing the elements. He's racing the lappers. He's going to put in one heater, as we say. He's going to lay down one fast lap.
That's right, and that's what we call go time here at RacerTV.com.
It's go time, and check out Charlie did his job. He got the lead he needed. He made himself comfortable. You know, Caleb obviously isn't going to give up. He's going to put his head down. He knows where he's at. They're going to give him his pit boards. He's going to be getting his splits. I'm sure KTM has every available man out in the woods, you know, to let Charlie know how much time he has on Caleb and let Caleb know how much time he's making on Charlie. And, you know, it's really a win-win situation for KTM because if Charlie wins, you know, it's great. And if Caleb wins, it's great. And
there's, 5 points that separate first and second, right, in the championship points battle?
5 or 7. It's right in there.
It'll either be tied or 2 points separate the two, and Caleb would have a slight advantage if that's the case. There's Whibley checking in the number 3 spot as we go into go time. Let's kind of recap the way things have broke down here, Johnny Gallagher. From the get-go, it was the hole shot going to, once again, every time he's lined up this season, I think Paul Whibley, the last 2 years just about, Paul Whibley has pulled $250 hole shot awards, and today was no different. I mean, when the green flag went up, it was as if poetry in motion for Paul Whibley.
Business as usual. I mean, he went out there and did what he needed to do, and he's done a lot of hard work with that bike and with his routine. Starts, as anybody will tell you, are all about a routine. You need to know your bike. You need to know exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to work, and they've mastered that over at Ampro Yamaha with that YZ450. Sorry, I'm thinking ATVs for a minute, but you know, they've got that bike starting very well. Paul really runs it in hard into that first turn, and you know, for him, I'm sure as much as he appreciates that $250 hole shot award, and you know, it's a point of pride to be able to say he's gotten it. The biggest thing, especially on a day like today, was him getting to the woods first and having clear racetrack. And I mean, we see how well it's worked out for him today. You know, obviously, he gave up a position to Charlie early, and then here recently gave up a position to Caleb as well. But it certainly made his day a whole lot easier. He wasn't making passes. He was out front, setting the pace, racing his race.
So basically, you said it there in a nutshell. Mullins opened up in second behind Paul Whibley. They raced a good lap and a half, maybe close to 2 laps, with Wibbs actually holding on to the lead. And like you said, Mullins finally got around him on the 112. But amazingly, another couple of laps, Paul Whibley held very solid, very strong in the number 2 spot. And we kept, thinking, I think, well, it's about time for Paul to hit that wall, man. I mean, he talked about it. He's the one that brought it up to us. So we know that there's got to be a wall out there, so it's about time for him to hit it. And I don't necessarily know that that's what the case may be. It might be the wall, but I think as much as anything, might be just lack of confidence from being off the bike at this point late in the race. He's probably thinking to himself, all right, I shouldn't be in the best of shape, so maybe he doesn't want to make that push. But I think he's proven to a lot of folks, himself, the team, and the race fans, that he is truly the Axeman, man. I mean, there's not many people can dig down deep and do what he does. So we got these 3 up front. We've had a lot of things taking place, though, back behind him. At one point, we've seen Rory Mead in the top 5. We've seen Thad Duvall in the top 5. Whom else have we seen in that top 5? We go scanning the XC1 Pro class and remembering how this all broke down. Chris Bach was up there. Roy Mead was up there for a little while in the XC1 Pro class. And anyway, Robert Farnstrom. That's the rider that we
Robert.
Yeah, Robert started out this one. What was he? 3rd place, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he was behind
early,
Charlie. He was a buffer between Charlie and Caleb for a lap or so. And
he was actually between Whibley, he was behind Charlie in 3rd, ahead of Caleb, and doing what he had come to America to do, which was beat Caleb.
And, he hasn't done that yet, but he is beating Stu Baylor. He is beating Stu Baylor. Baylor, it looks like, may have made it back out on the track because he's still on lap 4, working on lap number 5, it appears. He was back in 13th place of the XC1 Pro class when they checked in at the end of lap 4 there. And working on lap 5, our leaders have checked in with 5. Mullins, Russell, Whibley, Ashburn, and Strang, your top 5. Chris Bach in 6th, Roy Mead in 7th as we wait for him. Takeshi Koikata, 8th, Ricky Russell 9th, Adam Barnier in 10th place. Lap times, 27:53. I think that's our first faster lap time than 28. I think first time we've dipped it below the 28-minute mark, if I'm not mistaken. I think the fastest before this was a 28:07. Is that right?
Yeah, Charlie turned a 28:07 earlier, and then with his 27:53, he went ahead and knocked another 14 seconds off that just for good measure.
28 minutes, 0.85 for Caleb Russell. And now the gap, 54 seconds officially whenever they came through the finish line there.
This just really speaks volumes about the training and mental toughness of Charlie and Caleb, and all these guys for sure. But these two have proven time and time again that when the chips are down and it's time to play ball, they bring the big stick. And throwing lap times faster than what they've thrown all day. Now 2 hours and almost 30 minutes deep into racing. Their fitness isn't in question. Their drive isn't in question. They know that they're going to run each other right to the end and see what can happen. And right now, Charlie's got the upper hand.
He does have the upper hand. Mullins with the upper hand right now, and a report coming in from Barry Hawk.
Yeah, Rodney, I'm out here at the rocks at the Amsoil 3-mile marker, and Charlie Mullins has went by, and I'm waiting for Caleb Russell. And here comes Caleb now. Charlie's pulled about 5 seconds since the last time I seen him. Caleb's about 5-0 behind Mullins.
Wow, 10-4. Thanks a lot, Barry. So more time gap opening up there. Barry saying he saw that he has opened up another 5 seconds since he last saw him. He said it was 50 seconds. We saw it at 54 seconds, I think. So, wow. So right there still in that 55-second range. Back behind is Caleb Russell. It's almost at this point, it's go time for Charlie. It's also go time, but don't go too crazy time for Caleb Russell, because these are the moments that very easily you could throw a championship away, moments like this.
Certainly. Caleb, he's well aware of the math. He's well aware of what he needs to do. Ultimately, his goal was to come in and win the race today. I'm sure I didn't listen to the pre-race interviews. I was out in the woods, as I said, but there's no doubt that each one of these guys knew the importance of winning today. Charlie right now, as we said, has the upper hand. Certainly still 5+, 6+ miles of racing. Anything can happen. But at this point, Caleb's got in his head. They've told him he's a minute down. He's pushing. He's hoping for a mistake from Charlie. But Caleb at this point isn't going to do anything to jeopardize his second place today. He's going to push himself. He's certainly going to lay everything he has on the line. But he's not going to take any crazy risks. He knows the math. He knows he's got that 5-7 point cushion, whatever it is. So for all intents and purposes, because of our point system, they're going into Ironman as a one-race shootout. 1-2, doesn't matter who it is. They're tied, essentially.
Yep.
What the points actually say, if they go 1-2 at Ironman, assuming they do, there's a 5-point gap. So that's when it's really going to come down to. The math of it is, if they go 1-2 today and they come down to Ironman, it's whoever can win and the other finishes second. That's who decides the championship.
2 hours and 30 minutes into this one. Jim Kenyon standing by. Jim, what's going on?
You know, Rodney, as the battle for 4th place is really starting to heat up over here, when I watch those guys come through, Jordan Ashburn, Josh Strang, and Chris Bach. Now, that's a battle that we should keep an eye on here in the last lap. Strang was pretty much touching Ashburn's rear wheel, and then you had Chris Bach just behind those two. So it'll be interesting to see how that threesome pairs out and who comes out ahead of that pack.
Well, right now, Jim, we're watching it unfold as they come through the rock garden there. It looks like Strang has gotten around the number 9 of Jordy Ashburn now, so that's a little bit of a change there as Josh continuing to roll here. Let's look at his lap times again. We talked about how he can get faster. 28:34. Actually, no, he's not getting any faster. He's running on pace with Paul Whibley, but surprisingly, it looked like that Josh was going to do that. But again, conditions, lapped riders, there's a lot of variables out here today that could be keeping him from doing that.
Yeah, and if you look at the lap times of Ashburn, Strang, and Bach, they're all within 8 seconds of each other that last lap. So that's a lapper. That's a having to wait on a little bit at their fuel stop. It could have been any of those things. So those guys are all running. And here's Rory not too far back as well. So you've got the 4, 5, 6 battle, and then Rory not too far back in 7th. But again, with this being our penultimate round, to use a term that you love so much, Rodney, points-wise, this looms large for Josh and Chris, and I believe Jordan as well. I'd have to look at the points, but I know those guys are all in a battle. And, ultimately, with Caleb and Charlie doing what they've done this year, they've distanced themselves points-wise. They've distanced themselves per race, but now it's coming down to the wire, and we'll see what happens.
2 hours, 31, almost 32 minutes into this battle. Leaders expected in within about 17 minutes. Charlie Mullins leading by 55 seconds over Caleb Russell. Paul Whibley back to the number 3 spot, and we'll be back with more GNCC Live on RacerTV.com right after this.
Any engine, any season, at home, at the track, or on the trail. Amsoil, the first in synthetics.
Sometimes you come across something so different, you just have to stop and check it out. The Rocky Mountain ATV MC website has everything you need, from our huge selection of apparel and gear to dirt bike accessories and OEM parts. Our extensive inventory means most orders arrive in 3 days or less. Get low prices, quick shipping, and incredible customer service. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
VP fuels are a big part of our race team. They're consistent, and I know every pedal will be the same. With VP, you get better detonation protection and bigger performance gains for your money. And VP has a great distribution. It's easy to find anywhere. Just like an exhaust system, race fuel is an engineered performance part, especially when it comes from VP Racing Fuels.
VP Racing Fuels, purpose-built to take the lead and keep you there.
And welcome back to St. Clairsville, Ohio. The 12th annual running of the ITP Powerline Park GNCC Round 12 of the 13-round Amsoil Grand National Cross Country Championship Series. 2 hours, 34 and a half minutes into this one. We're looking at footage from the Powerline mud hole section of this racetrack. This is NBC Sports raw footage, and they just brought it in and said, you got to check out some of these shots out there that's going on right now. We saw it a lap or so ago, and Johnny, looking at this footage, it looks like it's gotten even tougher. Oh,
wow. That should make Sports Center for sure. Rodney, it gets tougher every lap. It gets tougher every bike that comes through. I mean, look at those ruts. Look at what they're landing into. But at this point, these guys don't have an opportunity to go around, especially the top guys. You're looking at a difference of 25 seconds going around versus going through the middle.
Is that much of a difference, huh?
Yeah, we were. And here we go. There's Caleb, making it look easy. But certainly those guys don't have a chance to take the safe route. They can't do that. There's no way that they could give up that kind of time and still stay competitive. But again, and the mud fleas are perhaps the best part of this.
Did you see that guy? He looked like he just literally appeared out of the mud right there.
Well, judging by the back of him, he may have. He might have just been waiting for that opportunity to pop up out of the mud hole and help somebody out.
There comes Gibbs through now. He comes up. Wow, man. I mean, that man is very smart in his line calculations whenever he approaches things like that. It'd be tough. I guess maybe not as tough as I would think it would be for some of these guys at this top level. But, I mean, when you come up on a section like this, like you say, it changes every lap. How are you going to know for sure that you're going to – how are you going to have the confidence that the line that you used before is going to be the same, especially if it's been changing all day?
That's where experience comes into play. I mean, you almost have to be a horticulturist or a geologist along with an ATV racer or a motorcycle racer. You have to know exactly what the ground composition is and how much moisture is in it to know how long that's going to hold up and how many bikes have been through. And you see a lot of these guys off camera. They have a lot of assistants down there with team members and people pointing them which line is best and how it's holding up. And they're getting pit boards as they approach that section as to which lines they should look at. But ultimately, as a rider, it's their decision which line they're going to hit and how they're going to go at it. And sometimes there's no replacement for just a little bit of heavy throttle handling.
Well, we've been following a very intense battle up front in the XC1 Pro class. Charlie Mullins leading the, now majority of this race aboard the number 112, enjoying 54 seconds of a gap heading into the final lap over his teammate and current points leader, Caleb Russell, who sits second. Paul Whibley back to the number 3 spot, Ashburn in fourth, and Josh Strang in fifth. We have been keeping a close watch and check-in on these guys, and this week, haven't really had a whole lot of a chance to talk as much about it. But as we've mentioned in weeks past and in races past, we've got just as a heated championship going on in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Right now, Andrew DeLong, who by some rights could or should be the championship points leader, maybe even wrapped it up at this point, according to Jason Thomas. I mean, he says right now Andrew should be the one that would be vying for the number 1 plate. He said, but he's not, so we are. And Jason Thomas, who sits back in the number 3 spot on the number 1 machine in the XC2 Pro Lights class, is probably got one of the biggest breaks he could have gotten. Grant Baylor, who had a slight points lead heading into this round of racing, was, had some issues at Foxburg, and today also having some issues. We wondered coming in with some lingering issues from the ISDE. He had a crash there the last couple of days, and he told me even he was a little sore and stiff in some places. He didn't think it would bother him, and I'm not sure if that's what's bothering him or what the problem may be. But right now, 28 points separating Baylor and Thomas, and this position that we see about 5 different spots between 3rd and 5th, and Grant Baylor and Jason Thomas is going to give Thomas the opportunity to make things happen. This race also last year is where things swung in the favor of Thomas for him to position himself to win the XC2 Pro Lights title for the first time away from Stu Baylor yesterday. Hey, Jen Kenyon standing by. She's got some word on just exactly why Stu Baylor may be back in 8th place.
Yeah, that's right, Rodney. Grant Baylor is back in 8th place.
Grant,
I know everybody here is wondering what the heck happened to him. He's been having some issues with the bike and with himself here in the recent races, but today it sounds like an unfortunate break for Grant Baylor. Around the 2nd lap or so, he actually ran out of gas is what the reports tell us. So apparently the KTM crew got to him very quickly. They got him the fuel he needed. They got him back and going, but we see Jason Thomas in the 3rd place spot right now, Grant Baylor in the 8th place spot. So like you said, Rodney, Jason Thomas is probably catching that break that he's been needing for a while to kind of stop that momentum. Grant's had the points lead for quite some time now. This could be the race that Jason Thomas needs to get back in that points chase.
Exactly, and thanks for that update, Jen Kenyon, and bringing up a pretty good point. We talked, this could be what it takes to get him in, get Jason Thomas in position there for that XC2 Pro Lights title. But here's another thing to think about: the maturity, the experience here, or inexperience on the part of Grant Baylor. You got to wonder if now things tightening up so much heading into the last round, whether or not the kid's going to play mind games with himself heading into the Ironman.
Certainly that could come into play, and Grant's obviously an excellent rider and has tons of experience in amateur championships. He's won many throughout his career.
But amateur and this level, for some reason, as well as I do, seems to be a little different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Grant's got to, he has to keep his composure, and but really he's doing that today. I mean, with a 28-point lead coming into today, ultimately his goal would have been to finish ahead of Jason or win the race, which would have mathematically clinched the championship for him today. But that's not the case, obviously, with running out of fuel.
Update coming in from, who we got update here?
Rodney, it's Barry. I'm out here at the 8 mile marker. Charlie Mullins is going by. I'm waiting for Caleb Russell and Paul Whibley, but the last time I had seen them, Paul Whibley put quite a bit of time on Caleb, and I can give you a better update. They should be here any second, but it looks like Whibley's charging and Caleb's let up a little bit, so things can get interesting in the second and third.
Wow, 10-4. We'll stand by right here. When you get that update, Barry, be sure and let us know, and we'll pass it along. But, wow, Johnny Gallagher, I guess we've noted that pretty exciting to think that, just when we were saying, okay, well, there it is. There's that wall. Paul Webley's hit it. He said it was out. Now,
hey, whoa. You said that. I never said that.
Well, okay, I said that. Regardless of how it was said, and the fact remains is that he is the one that said that it was probably going to be there. He's the one that felt that he wasn't bike fit. I think he's hit that second win.
I want to throw something in here quick. Do you remember me saying at the beginning of the show that Paul Whibley could be Charlie Mullins' best friend?
Yes, I absolutely do.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and say Nostradamus. Did I predict it? What if he gets around Caleb Russell? That's a huge point.
We'll find out whether or not he does now or not. Barry Hawk, what's going on?
Yeah, Rodney, Caleb Russell come by. He was didn't look like he's charging like he was earlier, and Paul Whibley was only about 4 seconds behind him. So Whibley's definitely charging, and Caleb, I don't know what's going on there, but it's going to get really interesting here come to the end.
10-4, thanks for that update, Barry Hawk. And Nostradamus, you're right, brother. 4 seconds separating him. And Mark Stillwagon, at Mark Stillwagon on Twitter there. Powerline Park, GNCC was NAR this weekend. Good times. 5:25.
Over everything.
Over
Racing
everything.
is life, GNCC live. Hashtags, buddy.
Hashtags. And we appreciate your love there at Mark Stillwagon. And don't forget, you can tweet your predictions still for the possibility to win $250 in great AMSOIL product. Well, this part of the race right here, man, this is the tough part of the race, I think, for some, because it's as much a waiting game as anything, and the wait this time, when it's over, it's over.
Rodney, while we have a minute here, before we have Charlie come into the finish, let's talk speculation. If Caleb Russell finishes second, Charlie wins. Obviously, we're making a whole lot of speculation here. Charlie finishes out these last couple miles, wins the race. Caleb comes in second. Now our points, like we talked about a moment ago, assuming that's how it was going to finish, they're virtually even going into Ironman in 2 weeks. What if it doesn't? What if Whibley interjects himself back into this points battle with these two and plays the spoiler? Now you're talking an additional 4 points.
Yeah.
So it really does mix things up a little bit, and suddenly it makes today's battle right now between these three that much more important.
Yeah, and if you remember correctly, actually, Charlie kind of did that himself in the battle with the championship with Whibley and Russell, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Last year here, Charlie, with his injury, was out of the points, was just here to get himself back up to speed and ride himself back into shape. And lo and behold, he and Caleb threw down and pulled away from everybody here, and he played the additional 4-point buffer between Caleb and Paul going into Loretta's and Ironman last year. And fortunately for Paul, unfortunately for Caleb, Caleb ended up coming out on the bad end of that one, but you know, wouldn't it be something if the very guy who beat him for the championship last year ends up playing a spoiler this year? I mean, it helps. There's so many ways it can go, and it's so interesting to sit here and watch and exciting. I mean, we're down to the final miles. This race is so huge for this championship. Obviously, it sets the stage for our final round. The points are so tight. Neither of these guys have any points to spare. It's obviously going to come down to Ironman, but who's going to have the upper hand? We're going to know here within just a few minutes.
Lots of irony in this day of racing. A real quick check of the top riders due in about 4 minutes. The XC1 Pro Class. Charlie Mullins leading, Caleb Russell, Whibley in third, Jordan Ashburn in fourth, Josh Strang in fifth. There is the 989 of Thad Duvall. He's 14th place position, working on lap number 4 right now. Good to see him out. He's charging as harder than he was probably at the beginning of the race. But Chris Bach back at 6th, Roy Mead is 7th, Takeshi Koiketa 8th, Ricky Russell in 9th, Robert Varnström, or Robert Varnström, the Swede on the American Beta machine, rounding out the top 10. Good to see him out here in his American racing debut in the GNCC. XC2 Pro Lights class, DeLong out front, Shane Hufford in 2nd, Thomas in 3rd, Grills in 4th, Lane Michael in 5th, Chris Douglas is 6th, Justin Sode in 7th, Grant Baylor in 8th, and here comes your leaders now, Johnny Gallagher.
Charlie Mullins in through the pro pits, and obviously he's not looking back. He's got his head. He didn't even look at that pit board. He knows what he's got to do. He's down to the final miles. He knows he's got a little bit of a buffer. He's running it clean. He's running it smooth. He's putting down the speed that he needs to keep that consistent. As we talked about, consistency. He can't make a mistake. But, man, look at all the lappers. I mean, there were so many riders he's just passed. Those are like moving roadblocks within the race itself. So definitely he's got to keep on his toes. But he's on cruise control at this point, making it happen. And we'll see in just a few more miles if he can hold on for the win. And pretty soon here we should be seeing Caleb Russell pop around this corner. And it'll be interesting to see if it is Caleb or if Paul's been able to make his way into second or is right on his wheels or has Caleb picked it up and pulled away. It's so many exciting battles going on right now.
Well, I tell you, while we watch for this one, something else I'm watching and waiting for, I looked and I seen, you know, Trevor Bollinger been top amateur out of this one now, that four-stroke Open A class. Anyway, the four-stroke lights class. And today he started out top 15, top 13 or so. He's disappeared out of our top running and out of the top 20 completely. And we look, and Mike Witkowski, leader of the 250A class right now, is looking at top amateur overall honors at the 24th place position overall. So not only are some of our pro riders finding some wild rides and interesting, neat things happening, or not so interesting, not so neat, depending on what situation you're in, we're seeing that happen as well in some of these other classes.
Yeah, and the top amateur is certainly a great thing that GNCC Racing does to recognize the top amateur, just as it sounds, racer, and it excludes the XC1 and XC2 guys, and the guys that are out there doing it. Look at this. Oh, actually, that's Caleb, but that is not Paul behind him. So Caleb's actually pulled back out a little bit. We'll see how much time as he's rounding those final couple corners in the pro pits and getting ready to tuck into. Oh, Paul's right there.
Yeah,
Caleb gives him a look back, sees him there, and he's going to do what he needs to do to try and run him down.
Look at that big Lazy Days RV back there, the Raptor Velocity. That one right there. Just like the TV crew for RacerTV uses out there. And I'll tell you, we are moments, literally, from a checker flag, about a minute before Charlie Mullins should be checking in. And with that being said, another couple of minutes before the Russell-Whibley battle closes up. Lap time last time around, Russell turned a 28-minute flat lap time, Whibley a 28:34. It looks like Whibley has picked up the pace. Whether he has or Russell has slowed down, this one could be extremely exciting for second place whenever we hit that checker flag.
Yeah, and, you know, we saw those lappers that Charlie had already gotten around. That's going to be Caleb and Paul hitting those guys here in the next couple miles coming to the finish. And I can tell you from having ridden the track yesterday, the section from the pro pits to the finish is a few miles of single track. So those guys have definitely got a lot to get through to get to the finish line in that battle.
Congratulations to at Moo824. You've won $250 in AMSOIL products. Tweet now at the predictions. Mullins, Russell, and Whibley. Congratulations to Robert Nah at Moo824 as he wins the $250 AMSOIL contest here. Winner prediction. And here he comes, folks. Getting back into the mainstream and back into the flow and back into the hunt for the 2013 and his second GNCC championship title. The 112 of Hot Rod Charlie Mullins bringing it home in his home state of Ohio. Final few turns, and he has positioned himself once again to be America's premier off-road racing champion with 2 national championship titles in the off-road world, quite possibly at bay for Charlie Mullins, your ITP Powerline Park GNCC champion. That is exactly what Charlie Mullins needed to have happen. Something else he needs to have, or would like and would help him out quite a bit to have happen, is to have that charging Paul Whibley make that pass in this final minute leading up to the finish line for those two.
Charlie obviously knows he has the win. He knows he did what he needed to do. Right now, his mechanic's standing there telling him, okay, here's what happened. You won. And by the way, Whibley just caught Caleb, and they're on their way to the finish. So anytime now we're going to see Charlie turn his head and start looking, and he's going to be the most interested spectator in these last couple turns.
GNCC, a family sport. We talked about, there's Auntie congratulating Charlie. We talked about Paul Whibley and Catherine going to be in the family way now. There's Charlie. He's got his son Cooper, and his wife Rachel was there, and we've seen Rachel's mom back there, Lisa. She was, you can see how excited she was for Charlie. She sees the historical importance of this. She sees the value of the championship points gained there. She sees her son-in-law about ready to possibly win his second GNCC title. Here comes Russell now, looks like uncontested. He looks over his shoulder, though, just to see exactly where Whibley is, and nowhere really in sight at that moment, but he's about a length of the zigzags. I was trying to say chicanes, but yeah, away. But regardless, Russell will hold on for second, and amazingly, in Axeman style, man, he's going to be on the podium taking a 3rd place position finish, and you have got to commend Paul Whibley on being able to pull something like that off. The intense surgery he had, the off time on the bike, and to come back and be a key player all day long, just an amazing feat. Caleb Russell takes second, and your defending and 2-time GNCC champion Paul Whibley will come across just under 8 seconds behind in the number 3 position as he will round out the podium. It's Mullins, Russell, and Whibley. 6 laps of racing. Nearly 3 hours. It took 2 hours, 49 minutes, 58 seconds for Charlie Mullins to finish his race. The gap at the end of this one, 1 minute and 42 seconds between first and second, Mullins and Russell. And Whibley had pulled to within 8 seconds. The difference, Caleb Russell's lap time, Charlie Mullins' lap time, 28:08. 28:56. Whibley turned to 28:32. So it looked like Russell had some problems there on that final lap. And this guy right here, overcoming a lot of problems and a lot of adversity. It is the number 1 of Paul Whibley as we are now heading down to the finish line where Jake Kenyon stands by with our leaders and winners here in just a few moments. Right after this, we'll be back with more GNCC Live on RacerTV.com.
The Can-Am Renegade 1000 XXC with the most powerful engine in the industry. The Outlander 1000 XT with a redesigned chassis for unequal trail riding. The Commander 1000 Limited, the most equipped, luxurious side-by-side in the industry. The facts say it's the most advanced lineup out there. But the ride says it all.
What we got here at AOMC is a huge selection. You can get everything you need for your off-road bike.
We're here to support the sport. Customer service is our priority. We all ride, so try to take care of our fellow riders.
This is a perfect spot for it. We're on 32 acres here, right in the middle of Appalachia, prime riding area. Yeah, really anything KTM has in stock, we have it. We get it the next day.
What excites me the most is that even after 12 years, I feel like we're just getting started.
Hi, this is Tanner Harding, and today we're going to take a walk around Caleb's 2013 KTM 350 XCF. One of the coolest things about Caleb Russell's bike is it's pretty much all stock. You can go right into your KTM dealer and you can get an XC model, and it's great for trails, it's great for racing, it's a great all-around bike. So that's the 2013 KTM 350 XCF. I'm Tanner Harding, thanks for checking it out.
Welcome back to GNCC Live. We're trackside here with our third place overall finisher and reigning XC1 champ, Paul Whibley. First off, Paul, welcome back to GNCC after a couple race break, and how did you feel out there?
I felt pretty good. I was pretty excited to be back after 3 months away with some surgery, and get back and be mixing up with these guys straight away. I felt pretty good. So whole shot and led for a lap, and then second for a while, and Caleb got me pretty quick. But overall, I was pretty happy with the day.
You know, I must say, there were a lot of people wondering, you got the whole shot, which is totally normal, that's Wibbs fashion, but then we weren't sure how long you were going to lead these guys, because these two are hungry for a championship. They're right there in the points battle, but you were very impressive in that race, and you stayed up front the entire time. Do you feel any different from when you took your time off?
It was almost easier because now my injuries have healed up, and I feel a little bit stronger. It's almost easier to ride. I didn't want to push too hard and do any damage because we're just building for next year because we're out of the championship now. But to be mixing it up with Charlie and Caleb is a real good start and a good way to kind of lead into next year for us.
Yeah, definitely. So you would say you're 100% back from your injury. You're feeling like you're definitely healed up.
It feels like it, yeah. No, today there was no problems at all my injuries, and there's no pain, no weakness. So it was a good sign.
All right, well, we'll check back with you again before Ironman. We'll see how you're feeling then, but hopefully well. Congratulations again on a very impressive ride today.
Cool, thanks a lot.
All right, guys, that's your third place finisher, Paul Whibley. We're going to head on over here to second place finisher, Caleb Russell. Caleb, you guys had a great battle, you know, as usual. You're coming off of a 5-race win streak, so it's been a while since you felt this second place finish. You know, take us through the end of that race.
Yeah, the day was pretty terrible, really. Got a bad start. Didn't really feel that good, and it was kind of tough to get through those guys with the dust in the first few laps. Then I caught up to Wibbs and got around him, and I thought I was going to be able to make up a little bit of time on Charlie, and I pushed real hard on the second to last lap, and I didn't really make up any time, just kind of stayed the same. And last lap, I just kind of cruised around, and Wibbs ended up catching me. But all in all, it was a pretty uneventful day, and theoretically, all I had to do was win this one and pretty much wrap it up, since me and Charlie have gotten 1-2 pretty much every round this year. So, you know, it's pretty bummed, but, you know, we still got a shot at it. Winner take all, just like last year, and I know the agony of defeat, how bad that felt last year, so I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I bring this home.
You know, really quick talk about, you were charging there for a while, but then did you think about it realistically? You're in the championship chase. You knew that you at least had to finish second to keep this thing rolling. Did that come into play at the end of the race when you kind of settled down a little bit?
No, not really. I just knew I wasn't going to catch him, so there's no point in just pretty much exhausting myself to a bitter end. So, you know, I just backed off, and then Wibbs caught up to me, and I didn't think he was going to catch me, but the pace I was going, but he ended up catching me, and I picked it up there the last couple miles, and I was able to bring home second.
All right, well, congratulations. It was a good ride. Not quite what you wanted, but we've got one more round for this championship.
Yep, thanks.
All right, we're going to make our way over to our first place overall finisher here today, joined by Mr. Cooper. Cool dude, he says on his shirt. Charlie, tell us about that race.
It was good. Was second off the start behind Wibbs, and he had a good pace going, and was able to get around him in the second lap and just kind of rode my own race, kind of rode my pace. Then once the 2-lap card came out, I kind of dropped the hammer and brought it in for the win. It feels good. I feel like I've been kind of on a dry spell, so it feels good to get a win. And, you know, it's going to be an exciting one at Crawfordsville. So I got an enduro next weekend, kind of keep me sharp, then hopefully, you know, do what I did in Indiana. So it's all about championship from here. And, you know, the math's pretty easy. I just got to beat him, so you know, it's going to be exciting and high pressure situation, but I'm up for it.
You know, like you said, it has been a while. Caleb was on a 5-race winning streak there, but you put it in when it counts the most. We've got one round left. I do have to ask, like you said, you rode your own pace out there, but it was really dusty and dry. So did that come into play when you were able to get out front early on and kind of probably see a little bit better than those guys before you hit those lappers?
I think it helped a little bit, but, you know, once we got in the second lap, we got in the lappers, and, you know, it wasn't fun eating Wibbs' dust, so I did what I could to get around him, and, you know, sure enough, we got in the lappers, and made it a little bit challenging, but, you know, you just had to be smart and pick good lines, and, you know, today was good. I made 2 mistakes, but other than that, I felt pretty solid, and, you know, hopefully I can pull it off in a couple weeks.
All right, well, you're definitely putting in when it counts the most. Good luck for the next round, and congratulations on a big win here today.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys, we're going to send it back up to you while we round up our top 3 XC1 finishers.
All righty, thanks a lot, Jen Kenyon, and we'll wait on those XC2 finishers here in just a moment as we check this results board once again. Mullins, Russell, Whibley, Josh Strang, phenomenal ride by him today to pull up into a 4th place position finish, and Jordy Ashburn able to pop off a 5th place position. He also put together a pretty good ride, vying for 3rd there at a couple points, and you know, basically hanging out in a 4th for a good long time with Johnny Gallagher.
Yeah, that certainly turned into a good 3-way battle over that 4th, 5th, and 6th position there at the end with Strang, Ashburn, and Bach. And those guys, it looks like they took it right down to the wire between all of them. So it's cool to see those guys laying it all on the line, and obviously great to see Mullins get a win. And Russell did what he needed to do and salvaged what he could on the day after a little bit of a rough start for him. And man, so many good, interesting storylines today with Whibley obviously getting that podium, first race back, and all exciting stuff. It's been a great day of racing.
It has, and though we didn't cover it as much, the XC2 Pro Lights class also pretty exciting stuff. I'm not sure where Grant Baylor's going to finish right now, but we do know that Andrew DeLong is in for the win of the class. Shane Hufford finishing 2 minutes, 28 seconds back in 2nd. Good ride for him, and Jason Thomas, 37 seconds back behind him, was able to salvage a 3rd, which was monumental and huge for his program today, especially if Grant Baylor can't make up much ground out there, and it could tighten things up as we headed into this. A 28-point deficit with 2 rounds, you think, oh man, I don't have a chance, but 2 years in a row, this race here in St. Clairsville, Ohio, has played big favors for Jason Thomas.
Absolutely, and one thing that Jason Thomas definitely did today with his 3rd place finish, regardless of where Grant finishes, he's taken his championship down to Ironman. So that's really all he could look to do today, was grab as much points and as much of a advantage his way as he could, and he did that today. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens in that title, and obviously XC1. It's going to be exciting.
Scotty Grills, Ohio's own, from up out of Wellington, not far from where we are right now on that Kawasaki. Scotty, actually, the 18 was hoping for a podium position finish here today in the front of the hometown crowd. Ends up finishing 4th. Lane Michael rounds out your top 5. And we head down to the finish line where Jen Kenyon stands by with our top 3 XC2 Pro Lights riders.
All right, I'm joined here with today's XC2 Pro Lights 3rd place finisher, Jason Thomas. Jason, 3rd place isn't as great as 1st place, but when the points leader that you're battling with finishes outside of, even the top 5, that's got to feel pretty good for you, right?
Yeah, it's at least going to go to the last round. It wasn't the result I was hoping for, but on this 125, it was all I could do to get back up to 3rd. So I'm happy with it. It could have been 4th or 5th. Them guys were right there. So yeah, battled all the way to the end, and I wouldn't say I had fun today. It was hard work. So that's always good. It's always good to earn a podium like that. So I'm happy with it.
Talk about the beginning of that race. You said you battled up. Did something happen there at the beginning to set you back?
I just got a bad start, and it was real dusty, and I just didn't have the power to pull them in the field section, so I had to ride real aggressive in the woods, and it was so dusty that I was just taking a lot of risks. So I was lucky to get away with it and get past them, and then these guys were Andrew and Shane Hufford, I guess, was second. They were gone. I didn't see which way they went, and I guess I was catching Shane towards the end, but I was under pressure from 4th, so it was a battle all the way to the end.
You made the interesting decision to ride the 125, especially when you're in the battle for a points lead and a potential 2nd title. Do you think you'll definitely ride the 125 at the last round, and do you think that has any kind of difference playing in here at the end?
I won't ride it the last one, no. It was only going to be these 2 rounds. Yeah, the last one I'm going to ride a 252 stroke, so back on a big bore, and like I said, the championship is going to go to the last round now, and there's 2 weeks of practicing and training, and then the race, so anything can happen. It's still not over, so I'm just going to focus on getting strong on the 252 stroke after riding this little bike, and come out swinging at the last round.
All right, well, congratulations on a 3rd place finish, and it's going to be a battle all the way to the finish there.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to make our way over to our 2nd place finisher, Shane Hufford. Shane, you were out front from the get-go. I believe you got the XC2 Hole Shot Award. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. Well, tell us how it feels to, I'm going to head on the other side of you. Tell us how it feels to be leading from the get-go, and how that kind of dynamic changed your race out there.
Well, getting the hole shot definitely helped me out today, and just gave me the confidence to kind of push through and stay up front. And you know, it's a hard class, hard series, so I'm definitely glad to be here. I missed the podium, you know, a couple times this year just by one place, so it feels good to be here.
Yeah, definitely. Now talk about the battles out there. You guys were moving your way up the pack pretty well, so did that have an effect on how you guys moved your way through the pack? You know, Andrew was pretty well out front, and you were up there all day long.
Yeah, well, you know, come through past some of the riders there, it was pretty dusty, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, honestly. I thought it was going to be a lot worse, but yeah, it was good.
All right, was there anything spectacular or big that we didn't see that you can tell us about out there?
Not really. The couple of the mud pits there almost got me a couple of times. I guess the Powerline creek jump or whatever, I was getting a little tricky towards the end of the race. It got real muddy and stuff, but yeah, it was good. Good day.
Man, if you can survive that thing, we saw some video of back there, and it looked pretty gnarly. So if you could survive that, you're doing well.
Thank you.
All right, well, congratulations on a hard-fought second-place finish out there.
Thank you.
All right, and now we make our way over to Mr. Andrew DeLong. Andrew, you're back up here out front. I mean, this has got to be pretty cool for you just to be dominating after you come back from an injury. Tell us about your race today.
Yeah, I pretty much had a flawless day. Nothing went wrong. Nothing. I didn't fall. It was one of them days that you can only imagine, you know. So I hit every corner that I wanted to, and I caught Strang. I just couldn't. The motor's, you know, 250 to the 450 is a little bit smaller, so he pulled on me a little bit. I tried to stay with him really bad, like really hard, and I just lost sight of him. And then I was riding my own race and just tried to keep on pushing. And you know, I was having fun. I was just having a blast today, and that's what it's all about. And ever since I got back from you know, my injury and everything, I've just been having fun, and that's what it's about. So definitely very happy with how today went, and I couldn't ask for a better day.
You know, Andrew DeLong smiling after the race, having a self-proclaimed flawless day. That's pretty big for you because you're usually pretty hard on yourself after these races.
Yeah, well, last year I came here, I had the hardest time. I fell in the creek down there, the Powerline mud hole, and fell in the rocks. So I've never won here, and I've always been out of the top three. So for me to come here with a positive attitude and just have fun, that's all I needed. And man, it was just a great day. So.
All right, that's what it's all about, coming in with a positive attitude, taking all your experiences that you've had, maybe not the best experiences in the past, and really putting those in. Congratulations on a big win here today.
Thanks, Jen.
All right, guys, we'll send it back up to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Jen Kenyon. Most excellent job today, and a great day all around. Celebrating 12 years at the ITP Powerline Park GNCC. Our first weekend, I think, that we've gone without rain on both Saturday and Sunday. Got a little overcast here today, but never saw it. Beautiful temperatures, great day of racing, great race fans here in Ohio out with us, and just got to say thanks to everybody for making their way out. Thanks to everyone for tuning in to RacerTV.com for this GNCC live program. And, of course, also just want to say thanks to all the folks that help us out here today. Of course, Johnny Gallagher, first time in the co-host seat here with the motorcycle side of things in 2013. Had a spectacular day with Johnny. Want to say thanks to you, Jen Kenyon. Excellent job as always. Also, the entire staff of Racer TV live crew here, Jeremy Saylor, Griffin Cotter, and all the guys, man, thanks for all the hard work that you put in. On behalf of all those guys and the staff and management of Racer Productions, I'm Rodney Tomlin saying, good day, everybody.